We all ready? Okay, looks like everybody's ready to go, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Good evening, we're ready to begin. The Planning Commission is now called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We're live on KCLV Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, Tuesday at 5 a.m., and Thursday at 6 p.m. Would everyone please stand and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Chair Trowbridge.
Present.
Vice Chair Truesdale, I understand is excused.
Yes.
Commissioner Buckley.
Present.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Present.
Commissioner Goins.
Present.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Present.
Thank you.
We do have a quorum. I would now like to call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we have a smooth meeting. Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 23rd Planning Commission meeting?
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the last planning agenda meeting as read in.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries. Let's move on to the housekeeping items. Are there any items that commissioners, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Items number 10, 11, 12, and 13, the applicant has requested that these items be held in advance to the June 25th, 2009 Planning Commission meeting, as the representative has stated no reason. Items number 14, 15, and 16, the applicant is requesting that these items be held in advance to the June 11, 2009 Planning Commission meeting so as to allow the applicant additional time to resolve continuing issues. Item number 17, staff is requesting this application be held in advance to the June 11, 2009 Planning Commission meeting to allow for the re-notification of the application. Items number 18 and 19, the applicant is requesting that these items be withdrawn without prejudice as they are pursuing an alternate location. Item number 29, the applicant is requesting that this item be held in advance to the August 13, 2009 Planning Commission meeting to allow the applicant time to achieve final inspections for the existing site prior to public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on any of these items? Okay. Seeing none, Commissioner Goins, would you care to make a motion regarding the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, move to approve all the abeyance, withdrawal, and request items as read in by staff.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Motion carries. Now we have no consent items, so we can move on to the one motion, one vote. The following items that may be considered in one motion, one vote, they are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearings and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. We have item 6, which is a RQR 33798. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor. The owner is Mini Pastures, Inc. Required review of the previously approved special use permit for a 40-foot high, 14-foot by 48-foot off-premise sign at 6900 West Craig Road. Item number 7 is RQR 33830. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor. The owner is Constantino Nova Nevada, LLC. Required review of a previously approved variance which allowed the relocation of 2 off-premise advertising signs with a 550-foot distance and separation between the signs where 750 feet is the minimum distance allowed at the northeast corner of Mineral Avenue and Martin Luther King Boulevard. And item number 8 is Vacation 33191. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's a petition to vacate a 20-foot wide by 300-foot long public right-of-way, an alley, generally located 139 feet northeast from the northeast corner of Washington Avenue and D Streets. Staff? Anyone wish to speak on any of these items? Public hearing is open and no one wishes to speak, so we'll declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion on these items.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the one motion, one vote items as read in the record, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
All matters go forward to the City Council on July 1st.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we go on, a point of
Please.
clarification. I think I made a mistake here. I abstained from voting on the prior minutes. My calendar showed me that I was not here on April 23rd, but I was just informed that I was. So, if I was here, then I need to go back and change my vote to an approval.
Okay, well, the city clerk has recognized that and will correct the record accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that. We now move to item number 9, General Plan Amendment 33721. It's a request to update and amend the West Las Vegas Plan to encourage the implementation of streetscape and median improvements, community identity markers, and improved neighborhood livability. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, I have a number of slides to talk to you about the proposed improvements, the proposed amendments to the West Las Vegas Plan. If I could have the first slide, please. What we are proposing to do is to amend the West Las Vegas Plan to include some additional language relative to proposed capital improvement projects and to address other planning efforts that have happened. If I could have the next slide, please. First of all, just as a basis of history, the West Las Vegas Plan was most recently updated in 2006. And while it did address a number of needs relative to the West Las Vegas Plan, there are a few things that we have left out and wanted to add to it. One of the things that has happened since it was originally adopted in 2006 was that a community planning workshop was held by the American Planning Association last year when they held their national conference here in town. They had a planning session with members of the community back in April of 2008, and out of that effort grew a list of recommendations. And what we wanted to do was to address that in the West Las Vegas Plan itself, as there are a number of recommendations that are in line with our own recommendations on part of the City of Las Vegas. For this particular amendment to the plan, we held a neighborhood meeting with residents on April 2nd at the Doolittle Community Center. Based on the recommendations from that meeting, we made some revisions to our proposal and held a second neighborhood meeting on April the 30th. And the comments of the residents of the neighborhood are reflected in the draft of the proposed changes that you have before you this evening. Next slide, please. What we're proposing to do is to amend the language in the implementation section of the document, and I'll go through that very briefly with you. Next slide, please. Implementation item number 5 discusses a Main Street program on Jackson Avenue. What we have done is clarified that section to discuss the proposed changes that are needed on Jackson Avenue, and more importantly, to establish a subcommittee to work with staff on the streetscape design of Jackson Avenue. We also talk about the development of a walkable community plan in the neighborhood, and as you are aware from our joint City Council and Planning Commission workshop, we are looking at doing that throughout the city, and West Las Vegas will be one of the targeted neighborhoods where we'll develop a walkable community plan. Next slide, please. Implementation item number 6 discusses infrastructure improvements in the West Las Vegas neighborhood, talking about establishing bike lanes, repairing sidewalks, and providing street trees and other streetscape and median improvements in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. The next implementation item is being amended to include, if I could have that slide backed up, just one. Thank you. To discuss improvements to the West Side School. As the Planning Commission is aware, we have recently made improvements to the 5th Street School, and basically what we're proposing is to do the same scale and scope of improvements to the West Side School as have recently been completed on the 5th Street School. Next slide, please. And finally, the last set of amendments that we are proposing is relative to the physical character and visual image of the streetscape in the West Las Vegas neighborhood. More importantly, to discuss issues relative to neighborhood identity, to establish gateways, and then also to involve interested community members and stakeholders to work with the Arts Commission in developing a neighborhood identity program and art plan for the neighborhood. That summarizes the proposed amendments to the West Las Vegas plan, and we will go ahead and take your questions now.
Do you want to hold the public hearing first, or do you want to take questions first? Okay, I'd now like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance would like to speak on item number 9, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record, and also sign in if you would, so that the city clerks will have an easier time with making an accurate record.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Duncan. I'm with the Las Vegas Ward 5 Chamber of Commerce. I have a few questions regarding the West Las Vegas plan. First of all, I would like to know, what is your timeline for the implementation of the plan? I don't know if you're allowed to give me answers now, or
if you just ask the questions, then they will respond to them all at once.
Yes, sir. We would also like to know what effect the religious facilities in the area and what part they will play in the West Las Vegas plan. If there's going to be any effort to study them, to catalog them, if there's any plans for deeming the area historic, whether it's a historic district or the West Las Vegas, the West Side neighborhood historic district, if there's going to be any plans to obtain that. We talk about doing the Main Street approach on Jackson Avenue, and we're wondering if possibly that could be expanded to include the entire historic district or affected focus area. Also, what needs to be looked at are transportation corridors. There needs to be an immediate assessment to accommodate future tourism to the area, if it is deemed a future tourism improvement district. And how do you plan to collaborate with the stakeholders in the community? We would be interested in knowing what that procedure will be. But more importantly, we would like to know, what is your timeline? Because what has happened traditionally with West Las Vegas, I have plans on my desk that have been drawn in this city since 1977 regarding this focus area. In 1977, they set up an organization called the Southern Nevada Enterprise Community, and as you know, Senator Horsford is just working on that committee now to try to implement the 1977 plan for the Enterprise Park. And although the city has put forth a plan in 1994, another plan in 2003, and another plan in 2006, there has been no effort to implement any of those plans. There has never been any funding set aside to implement any of those plans, and to our knowledge, neither has there been any staff time or resources devoted to the actual implementation. So we have a real question with what's going to make your 2009 plan any different than any other plans you've done here at the city. And more importantly, we would like to know how we as a Chamber of Commerce can work with the city to help with whatever plan is going to be put forth to the citizens.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and get any input from other citizens in attendance. So anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? So seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed, and we'll invite staff to respond to those questions.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, I'll take some of them. On the implementation, as with all area plans and general plan elements, the implementation of capital projects is through the city's capital improvement program. There is a procedure where those projects are proposed by the various departments, and then they are analyzed for funding, and they receive funding based upon the decisions of the council when they adopt the city's budget and capital improvement plan. With regard to the involvement of the religious facilities, we specifically identify those persons, and those persons that represent the various religious facilities are on the mailing list, have been and have participated in this update and in the other progress on the other plans that we have done. The 2003 and 2006 plans were a consolidation of previous plans, and this is merely an update to implement based upon specifically the work that was done in 2008 that was of great interest to those who participated, and to place that into the plan so that we have that language available. With regard to additional Main Street programs, that's certainly something that could be pursued in the future. And with regard to the implementation and working with the community, we have language in here with specific language to consider the creation of community development corporations. We have the language to ensure that we work with the community on the implementation plan. That is the entire purpose of the specificity of these programs that are being added to the plan at this point in time, giving exact infrastructure improvements that the Public Works Department has already been working on, and they have been involved all along in these changes and enhancements that are proposed with this language here. There will be opportunities with regard to specifically the arts program, and then, of course, citizen involvement. The comments will still be able to be taken, and the council will consider those comments if and when they hear this item on July 1st.
Thank you. Just a general question. What is the status and scope of this area in terms of being defined as a historical area? What's the status of that?
Well, there's a portion of it that was studied, the Old West Side, and unfortunately I'm not going to remember what the status of that was. It is separate from this document. This document is an area plan and not a historic plan. The primary historic focus here is the issue of the West Side School and the bringing that back in the same fashion that the city did with the Fifth Street School. That is one of the key historic landmarks and opportunities within West Las Vegas, and it is the primary focus from a historic perspective in this group of implementation programs is the emphasis on the West Side School.
Very, very good. And the question regarding the funding, that just the quick answer is it goes into the mix for CIP funding, and it's on a amount of money that's available and prioritization that's set at the time.
And these projects, the ones that are within this document at this time, are being considered as part of that capital improvement program right now.
Very good.
Then may I make a recommendation? May I
Sure.
make a
If we-
recommendation?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Our recommendation then is that the scope, the most urgent scope of work would be between A to H and Bonanza to the city limits going north. That not only do we concentrate on the West Side School, but we also concentrate on the entire McWilliams Town site, which is the original Las Vegas. That we also concentrate on visual improvements to the historic churches. It's a very important area to us. We believe we have more churches per capita than any place else in the world in this small area. That it is indicative of the African American culture, and that any art or artifacts to be placed in our community be sensitive to our needs and our culture, and we would like to have input in those areas. And that we do look at transportation issues, especially in light of the closing of F Street. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I ask Ms. Duncan a question?
Please go right ahead.
And this is actually sort of for staff as well, but I thought perhaps you would know. In this, one of the action items in the document calls for historic preservation and I believe an inventory of historic buildings in the area. The boarding houses that Billy Eckstein and Lena Horne and Sammy Davis Jr. and all the black entertainers from the middle part of the century were forced to stay when they couldn't stay in the hotels they performed on the Strip. Do any of those still exist, and have they been, if so, have they been identified?
That's a wonderful question, because our Chamber of Commerce has partnered with the Las Vegas Black Historical Society, and we've just purchased that home. And our goal is to restore it and provide tours and information on that particular property. We're also looking at the Ethel Pearson home, where Mrs. Ethel Pearson lived on Adams Street. There's a church at the corner of D and Harrison is the Pilgrim Church, and it was the first black church established here in Las Vegas. So we have a lot of wonderful elements in our neighborhood, a lot of treasures that are buried that we need to uncover and preserve, especially the McWilliamstown site. We believe those are terrific opportunities for tourism, which is why we would hope to have this area established as a tourism improvement district. That would be our best opportunity to work with the Main Street program in establishing a tourism improvement district.
I think that's excellent. And as a representative of the Chamber, I would think that would provide an economic benefit to the area. What about nightclubs? Do any of the original nightclubs, those facilities still exist?
There's one remaining segregated casino in Las Vegas. It's called the Town Tavern. It was originally built in 1941. It is owned by the only black female in Nevada to hold a gaming license. That's Tara Jackson. And we would hope to establish a walk of fame from Miss Harrison's boarding house, which is the house that you talked about, from Miss Harrison's boarding house to the Town Tavern along Jackson Avenue and then back up Sammy Davis Drive, hopefully.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. I think that would be a real benefit. And these, Flynn, these are part of the action plans of the document that the city would be directing in conjunction with the neighborhood, correct?
No.
No?
With regard to the historic surveys, again, that's a separate action that is done through the HPC, and those inventories and that work with regard to the McWilliams track and others is on a separate track, if you will, and is not part of this document. This document does not make the historic resource recommendations. It does speak to the public improvements. This is principally a document to assist in forwarding the physical public improvements in the area. So the principal emphasis is on the streetscape improvements, the physical improvements in the area of in the southeast area of the Old West Side, and also the West Side School.
So I would just like to comment on that. Downtown was successful in the Las Vegas High School area because you have a Las Vegas High School historic district. And so I believe if we go beyond the West Side School and establishing the West Side School neighborhood historic district, we could use the same model that was used downtown and build a successful community on the north side of Bonanza Road.
And that is correct. It's just through a different document than this one. That is
so that's why we were
correct.
concerned about what is the procedure, what are the timelines, and then how do we get involved, and how do we make sure that the recommendations that we're putting forward get into the right ears at the right time, so that we don't wait until you're finished.
It's all in this department.
Okay, because if you look at streetscape and what you might see as streetscape, for example, you're putting in bus stop shelters, that would be a wonderful opportunity for us to put in a bus stop shelter that looks like Lincoln Horn, or So instead of doing it over again, once you finish, we want to combine the arts with public works so that we do it all at one time and make it more convenient.
It sounds like everybody's on the same page. Are you related to Ruby?
She lets me call her mom.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion?
Just a couple of comments. I had a chance to review the plan, and I think it looks good. But I think what more or less the residents in West Las Vegas want to see is to see this plan come to life. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of times where, just like Ms. Duncan said, some of these things have been planned out, and even the plan from 77 still hasn't. You haven't even seen the fruits of that labor. A comparison I can use would be in the downtown area, that just east behind the Federal Building. All of that area has been revamped, and I believe it's through the capital improvement program. But you can see a significant difference when you go look at those single number streets where a lot of the old houses are now law offices. That was a plan that was put into action, and you can actually see it today. So while this plan is good on its merits, I know the capital improvement area comes at the council level, and I know Councilman Barlow will work diligently to get this plan through. But I think the residents actually want to see this come into fruition. There was also some talk about the streets and the way they're going to be connected, and folks don't want this area to become more of a pass-through area that folks just drive through, and that these streets and streetscapes are opened up so that people can get quickly through West Las Vegas into downtown. People want to see the streetscapes reflect the community. Bus stop turnouts are great, but I think even more importantly, that streetscape has to reflect the community and not just make an easy access for a CAT bus to get in and out, or to make more of them come through the neighborhood. So those just a couple of my comments. I wanted to ask staff about implementation number 9, where it talks about the section of the West Las Vegas plan and the enhancement of Owens Avenue. It says action item there, number 1, is to provide a north-south parkway type corridor connecting D Street, B Street, Losey Road, running through West Las Vegas community to facilitate redevelopment opportunities along this new corridor. Can somebody explain to me what that's going to look like after it gets done?
Excuse me, Mr. Goins, implementation item number 9?
Page 5 of the staff report, under action, number 1.
I'm sorry.
That's number 1. And number 2 talks about realigning Owens Avenue from a one-way couplet to a single 4-lane road to enhance east-west circulation and encourage commercial redevelopment along the corridor. It also talks about providing an I-15 frontage road for direct access to Owens from the Washington interchange at Lake Mead interchange in order to increase access into this community and to facilitate development opportunities.
Could we get some help from Public Works on these? Those are the items presented by Public Works.
Thank you. As I understand it, these are things that through the approval of this plan, staff will be advised to investigate the feasibility and the implementation of these. So basically the planning document gives us a goal to work towards, and then we investigate the ability of doing so with the intent of providing the improvements discussed.
And the community will have some input into that as well. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Because I think when you talk about opening these up in one-way couplets and 4 lanes and without a detailed description, I think sometimes you catch the community off guard, and I don't want to see anything sneak through that's going to disrupt what the main goal of this is. Because if you look at this area, it began back in 1904 with J.T. McWilliams that began selling the little individual lots over there. And I certainly think with the age over there that this area does qualify as a very historic area and a very significant area, and it should be handled with kid gloves. And I see the plan and I understand the plan. My concern is going about implementing the plan and making sure that everybody participates in this, especially with the religious facilities along along the Jackson corridor and the D Street corridor as well. Very, very important. Some of these churches have been around for 40, 50 years. I think they qualify to be on the historic register at some point. So I just want to make sure that buy-in is there and the community will be able to participate in that plan.
And we certainly take your direction, sir.
Ready for a motion?
Okay.
Think we're ready for a motion at this point?
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and follow staff's recommendation for approval of item 9, GPA 33721.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries.
And that goes forward to City Council on July 1st.
We can now move to item number 20, which is MSP 34174. The applicant owner is Caroline's Court, LLC. It's a request for a master sign plan for a commercial development with waivers of the town center sign standards to allow 2,609 square feet of freestanding signage where 1,506 square feet is permitted, a 100-foot pylon sign where 24 feet is permitted, 3 monument signs along the El Capitan Way Street frontage where 2 are permitted, and to allow wall signs to face an existing residential development that is located outside the limits of the Centennial Hills Town Center where such is not permitted at the northwest corner of El Capitan Way and Durango Drive. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the subject site currently is within the process of being graded for actual construction. The applicant is requesting a comprehensive sign package for the future commercial center. As part of this sign package, a pylon sign located at the southeast corner of the site at a height of 100 feet is being proposed. Pursuant to town center standards, the height of the pylon sign is limited to 24 feet or where adjacent to the 215 or the 95 right-of-way, 24 feet from the elevation of the finished road surface. The applicant has provided a stamped survey to verify that the finished road elevation is 2,612 feet, with the elevation of the sign located shown at approximately 2,583 feet. Therefore, with the 29-foot difference in elevation, the actual sign height allowed would be 53 feet. The proposed height of 100 feet is 189% of the height allowed. In addition, the applicant has also requested waivers from the total allowable square footage of sign area for all freestanding signs, as well as the request to exceed the number of monument signs along El Capitan Way, and to allow for wall signs to face existing residential development where such is not permitted. If the master sign plan was denied the applicant would have to redesign the plan as to show conformity to town center's sign standards. Staff has recommended denial of this application as the proposed signage will have a negative impact on the surrounding area, as is evidenced by the numerous waivers being requested. Staff would like to amend condition number 1, if approved, as submitted to the clerk to reflect a date stamp of April 14, 2009. Please note additional letters of protest and support have been received after the publishing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and state your name for the record and sign in.
My name is Lindsay Hill with Sign Innovations at 242 Sumpac Avenue, Henderson, Nevada. Okay, one thing that we did mention at when we first submitted this whole area is going to be in 2 phases. We actually only included the floor area of the first phase, so we would like to add in phase 2 as well. Okay, so phase 1 was 226,000 square feet.
I'm sorry. What? You want to change your application?
Well, not that we want to change it, but we didn't include phase 2 in this master sign program. So we want to include it now.
May I speak? My name is Jacob Kapshori. I'm the developer. What my good friend over here is trying to say is that the initial approval was for 269,000 square feet of retail and medical office. Right now, we're not developing the medical office, which is shown in purple over here. Therefore, the calculations should not be based upon the 226,000 that we're building right now. the retail end, it should be calculated on the 269,000 that we do have approval for. Does that make sense to you?
Not a
Mr.
whole
Rankin,
lot.
does that make sense?
The calculations on the square footage allowed were made on 226,000 by the planning department.
Mr. Chairman, the current
Please.
master sign plan before us is it covers the first phase of this development and does not include the second phase. As such, the analysis has just been done on the first phase, and such the requirements for square footage were based on those calculations. What I'm hearing is that they want to amend the application to include the second phase to have a different calculation created, and therefore I don't think we can.
It is not an amendment. We were approved for 269,000 square feet buildable over a year ago. We're just, because of the economy, not able to go ahead and build the medical or the office, whatever it will be, in a year or so when the economy is, indicates as to which way we should go. That's when we will know, and we will go ahead and develop it. But the approval, the original approval for this project is 269,000 square feet. We are only developing 226 right now.
If I may,
Please.
the calculation that has been done for this staff report is based on the buildings shown that are going to be developed and how much signage is allowed for that. You're saying that there's additional square footage that's been approved, but's not shown on this plan.
That we are not building at the
Yes.
moment.
So, but the calculation for the signage is based upon the buildings that are proposed at this time, not signage on square footage of future buildings which are not shown at this time.
Well, we're not going to be putting another pylon sign just for the office building on the north side, this little building. And we're not going to be putting another monument sign just for that building. What we are asking for now is for the total project. Whether, we build the medical now, or
I think we understand it. You want to put up full signage now for the entire improvement.
Just so we don't have to come
Okay.
back later and,
I certainly understand that part.
for example, the monument signs have to be 300 feet apart. That's what we have them. We cannot come back and ask for a monument sign just for the medical building. We cannot ask for a pylon sign just on the, building that we haven't developed. So the square footage really should be calculated at 269,000.
Okay, let's continue then. Do you have anything more you'd like to bring out regarding the request for waivers?
Yeah, we would actually like to talk about the height of the sign, why we're asking for such an increase. Here we have a visual analysis of the sign to scale, one going north on Durango, south on Durango, and both north and south on the 95. We want to establish identification in a safe distance for the existing northbound traffic on the Durango off-ramp. We feel that it's a necessity to have this sign up this high due to the visibility of the traffic going northbound and where the Durango off-ramp is located. We feel that if you don't see that sign in time, you will therefore pass the Durango off-ramp, and in order to get back to that center, you will have to travel an extra 3 miles north, make a U-turn at the Mount Charleston turnoff, and travel another 3 miles south. So this sign will not only benefit Caroline's Court and its tenants, but it will also direct traffic into that area of town where there's a bunch of businesses, such as the Albertsons and the McDonald's and a bunch of mom and pop, businesses. So we feel that establishing that identification as soon as possible for going northbound will benefit everyone in that whole area.
Okay, and what else?
What we have here is some existing signage that is in the town center. First, you can see the Centennial Center, which includes the Home Depot. It is a 80-foot, three-sided sign that sits flush with the freeway. And then we also have the Centennial Gateway, which is a four-sided sign that exceeds 50 feet in height. Now, this Centennial Gateway sign was approved in '06 with the town center guidelines enforced. So we're just asking to be allowed to have the same amount of visibility as Centennial Center and the Centennial Gateway.
Okay, and they have 80 foot and something in excess of 50, but you're
Yes.
asking for 100, saying
Yes,
that's the same?
Yes. Why I'm saying it's the same is because, as you can see on both this picture and this photo, this sign sits flush with the freeway, whereas my sign, I'm down a good 30 feet. So their signage visibility for all their tenants is much greater and has more of an impact than my sign will, even at 100 feet. Their legs are about 15 feet. My legs to my sign is a good 40 feet. So compared to the sign area that these tenants are allowed, and the visibility of the freeway is very, it exceeds what I'm asking for my sign. You see what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. Anything else?
There is one other argument on these signs. It is not just the height, the actual face that they have of the 80 feet, they are actually advertising their tenants on good 70 feet, 65 feet. Without our legs, our monument sign is only 50 or 55 feet. So it's not so much that we are putting lots of tenants on the board. In fact, if you see the pylon sign, it's mostly legs. And this picture over here shows you the drop from the property to the top of the Durango and the on-ramp to 95. This is the difference in height. The same as this picture. You can see the difference. So really, when compared to this, we have less of a face than these signs do. We just have more leg. And that's only just so that we can come up high enough. As you well know, Durango is a very, very wide road. And for people coming on northbound, in order to get off the freeway, the off-ramp, they have to be able to see this, which takes us back to this. They have to have enough distance to be able to come off in order to see the sign. These are actuals, by the way. They're not, these are engineered drawings so that you can see exactly, for example, coming on Durango, that's all you do get to see of the sign. Half the sign over here, southbound on 95, you see the sign over here. Just before the off-ramp, you see the sign. And as far as affecting the area,
Well, if I could, not to lead you through your presentation, but could you comment as to why 3 signs rather than the permitted 2 is appropriate, and why you should be allowed to have signage facing the residential units? And then, of course, you could tell us when you had your neighborhood meetings on this.
Okay. As for the pylon signs, per town center guidelines, I'm actually allowed 1 pylon sign per street frontage, and I'm only asking for 1.
How about the monument signs?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. The monument signs, this red right here, Jacob actually gave up a lot of his property in order to make a right turn lane. So actually, if he did not give that up, we would be allowed that extra monument sign along El Capitan.
correction, we would be very close to it. We need 900. We're 820 right now. We would be closer to the 860, 870. So we're like 30 linear feet missing for the 3 signs versus 2. That's as far as the question you had with regards to the monument signs. With regards to the signs facing homes, we have a trail, 20-foot trail going on our north side, 20 feet wide. The trail itself is 10 feet with 5 feet on either side of landscaping with purple
Rogue locust trees. They're very full trees on every 10 feet. So truthfully, this is a this is the exact tree. It's got a lot of foliage and everything. Once these trees are planted and the landscaping is done, truthfully, and all of this landscaping in here, he went ahead and did 18 by 18 planters instead of 9 by 9, and those will be full of landscaping. Once all the landscaping is in, these homes back here are not even going to have any visibility to those wall signs anyway.
In fact, one of the
Why would you
conditions.
put them up if they're not going to be seen? That
Well,
seems-
Not
no.
by the houses.
The homes at the time didn't wish to see the parking lot, so we've put plenty of trees, even though the neighbors themselves have plenty of trees currently. They also have a 6-foot wall that blocks their first level completely. In regards to that, we also are depressing this grading down by 15 feet. So whilst this triangle is remaining at its current grade, Lowe's building is actually, the site is coming down 15 feet. 20 feet. So the signs, even though they may be facing north, you won't be seeing them once the foliage is in there. The other argument to this is the whole idea the neighbors wanted a lot of trees there was to be screened off. So it's kind of contradiction to say your signs are now facing the homes. If I was made to put those trees in order to block the view of those homes into the parking lot and into the center, then theoretically those signs will not be seen. And we're depressing the building to the point whereby this triangular piece here is going to eliminate the possibility of any signs that there's a small low sign facing this side. That is not going to be seen by anyone because there's going to be a hill here. As far as this sign is concerned, there's plenty of trees, plenty of trail, landscaping for the signs to be screened off.
Thank you.
We're actually asking them to be illuminated because they will be visible
from the freeway.
and then from people traveling on El Capitan. But as far as the homes, seeing them, it'll be covered by landscaping.
Thank you. And the public hearing was held when? Or the public meeting, the residents?
Approximately 3 years ago.
Oh.
I've been going at this, hopefully I'll catch the next wave.
Yeah, I somehow think that there might have been some changes in the neighborhood in 3 years. Okay.
The mail was, everybody was sent their mail. Also, the other thing we've done is, where the pylon sign is, we have put a 1,000-foot radius, even though the code is 1,000 feet from the property line. We just wanted the Planning Commission to see that from the pylon sign, we're not hitting any residences, so to speak.
And where the circle does hit and intercept these homes, there was no oppositions sent from this neighborhood.
3 years ago.
There's also a hotel coming right in front of these homes.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. We have eight protests from people who were in the notification area.
Right. I'm aware of them. I spoke with one of them at length, who very strongly supported the project 3 years ago. He's the gentleman marked here. There's another person here. There's a shopping center owner that, rather than thinking, my pylon sign will bring in traffic, if we don't have the store they're looking for, they could go to their store. I'm not quite sure why they're opposing it, but we also have one neighbor here opposing it and one neighbor here approving it. The remainder of the people who had sent in their opposition are between 2.5 and 4 miles from the project. We looked at each and every one of these neighbors. There is no way that they can see, these two will not see. I mean, there's 1,400 feet from the pylon sign all the way going to the two neighbors over here. Then they're 25, 30 feet higher on grade than the pylon sign. So that's already 60 feet. With the trees and all the other landscaping between the trail and all the parking field, I don't think they will see it. As far as the commercial center is concerned, truthfully, being in this business for 30 years, I would love somebody, if I was in his position, I would love him to put a pylon sign here. And for any excess traffic to come through here, it's free. I'm not paying for it.
Okay.
The same as these two. Again, we can go back to this board and this is the, he would be over here. These two people, these two neighbors live on this side of the freeway, and currently there is a shopping center and an apartment building being built in front of them.
Okay.
So they won't be able to see the...
Thank you. I think you've spoken your piece. Is there anyone else in attendance who would like to speak on agenda item number 20?
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I'm opposed to this. When Town Center, before first shovel of dirt was ever moved, we hashed this out and hashed it out and hashed it out to no end. Ms. Hill states that, or made the statement that she needed the sign because when people were going by, it had to be high enough so they didn't miss the turnoff and have to go 2 miles or whatever it was to turn around and come back. This is not, the people that are going to this Lowe's are not the people going from San Diego to St. George. It's going to be local people. They're going to know where this thing is anyway, or they wouldn't even make the effort to go down there. But still, if we approve this, then the next person will come down and want a sign larger than this.
It's got to stop someplace. We've already made all of the requirements. Before the people bought the land, they knew everything. They knew what the requirements were. This isn't something that was dropped out of the sky on them. And I think we ought to hold to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to declare if there's no one else wishing to speak on the matter, seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
If I may,
Director Wheeler?
just one point of clarification. With regard to the calculation of the freestanding signage based upon the entire square footage that was approved, it would then allow 1,800 square feet as opposed to 1,500. So that variance, that waiver would be 2609 where 1,800 is allowed.
Thank you very much.
Just a couple of comments. I think we're creating visual sign clutter out here. I look at Durango as you're going north on 95. Durango is the last exit before Mount Charleston, and Durango, even at that interchange now, that everybody that lives out there knows that interchange is the major interchange to get to businesses both east and west and north and south across Durango. Did you say you were going to allow the Albertsons to advertise on your sign face? Is that what I heard you say?
No.
We're just saying it'll bring business into that whole center by notifying people and letting people know, hey, there's a Lowe's, there's a Staples. It'll get them to get off the off-ramp and come to the other businesses as well.
But the folks that live there already will know that because we're so, and I happen to live out there, we're so far north, there's nothing else out there. So you would know. Now, the folks that are on Durango that go north past Grand Teton and further that way out by Floyd Lamb, they can't wait for that shopping center to develop, and they know what's going to be there.
Correct. You're absolutely.
And so I don't think you need signage to tell folks that drive through that intersection. And I don't know, Bart, I don't know if you can tell me what the traffic count is. I don't know if y'all track traffic counts coming off ramps, but if you go out there at 5 o'clock, you can see traffic back down the off ramp on Durango.
Well, you're absolutely correct. However, there is a freeway going to Reno. There is a lot of people going off on that, and if they want to stop by, pick up gas, pick up restaurants,
you have plenty of signage along the freeway that 2 or 3 miles up that says at the next exit you have little signs of McDonald's, AM, PM, Arco. You have a full green bank with little signs that tell you what's coming off on the next off ramp. Even as your folks as far away as Indian Springs that actually come south and exit off of Durango, and they utilize the shops over there because that's the closest thing into town. So I don't think you're going to have anybody driving by Durango and saying, I have to go all the way up to Mount Charleston because, by golly, I missed that Lowe's, when you've got a Lowe's every 2 to 3 miles throughout the city anyway.
Well, there's about 14,000 homes scheduled to be built just further north than that. And this Lowe's is targeting those homes. They're not building, they've canceled all their other contracts. They're about to. Well, the thing is, at these times, we have to help the tenants, the retailers bring in the tax dollars, which we all need. The tenants themselves need maximum exposure on the freeway. That's what people want.
I understand that. And we as a commission have to protect the land use, and we also have to protect the homeowners that at night, although you may have a beautiful treescape back there, they don't want to see the beaming light from the sign peering down in the backyard. And so...
As I said, the closest home is over 1,400 feet away.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Ellsworth?
I see your points. I do. I've heard what you've had to say today, and I see the analysis you've made. I hear your argument about the height and how you're lower, and this is mainly legs, and those are good arguments. They really are, and I sympathize with your points. However, I've got concerns. I think you can see how Commissioner Goins is feeling about this. And if I know my fellow commissioners, they're probably similar to Commissioner Goins. And it concerns me that the last meeting you've had out there with the homeowners or the locals there has been over 3 years ago, and now you want to do a substantial change to the signage.
We haven't made any changes.
Well, you're coming here at this time asking for us to give you significant variances and waivers so that you can have this sign that's not been contemplated in previous hearings, at least not to my knowledge.
No, what I meant was making any changes that I
represented
to the neighbors.
I understand, but I still think there's wisdom in you meeting with the neighbors and trying to find that happy medium so that the neighbors are content with your sign and you're content with it. Because I understand the business side. You need to bring traffic into that development. You want to let people know you're there. I understand all of that. But we've got to balance this. We've got to balance this between your needs and the concerns of the neighbors. You know, I see several oppositions. It's a significant change in the standards that are already out there. That all leads me to say, we can go forward with this, but I can't support it today. But if you'll meet with the neighborhoods and find a way that you can come to a signage plan that meets both worlds, or at least comes in between somewhere, then I might be more interested in supporting a variance, as long as it's not as large and as big as this is. It's hard to swallow for these homeowners out there and some of the businesses as well, and I don't blame them. I mean, I see both sides of this fence. I'd like to find a happy medium. But if you're going to force this, I don't think you're going to get it to the inside. I can't certainly support it. It'll take some time.
What if we compromised and matched what Centennial Center has at 80 feet?
Well, that's every proposal I'll have to make, but I strongly encourage you to look at have a neighborhood meeting there and get some input from the neighboring businesses and homeowners. I think that's critically important. 3 years is too long ago. It's just too long ago, especially in today's world. I highly recommend it. It's your decision. You're the applicant. You don't have to take my recommendation. But if you want to get something passed,
that's totally understandable.
It's just this procedure that has taken this project 3 years. Actually, it's 5 years, but it was 3 years since I met with them. I mean, it's just never ending.
Sir, I think that's the problem for all of us. Is 3 years ago, lots of people have come and gone, and they might not be there, they might be there, but I think you owe it to them to go back to the people that are there now, not 3 years ago, and then reconsider. And if I was you, I'd hold it instead of have us all vote no, because I'm voting no if it stays as is.
No, we take your advice.
Mr. Chairman.
I think further discussion.
Just one quick comment. I appreciate the idea of reaching out to those most affected, but I just wanted to be very clear that unless when this comes back there's something substantially different, I just don't see how I could support it in that, in my mind, it doesn't meet the concept of the town center which was created. I know it may be a little onerous from your perspective, but I think the town center was something special. It was something that we were determined to hold a fire so that it didn't look like the rest of the bad decisions that were made in years past in this community. And every time we chip away at height, excessive signage, various waivers and variances, it takes away from the integrity of that design. So it would be a very high burden to get my vote for yes, regardless of the outcome of the meeting.
Aside from the height of the pylon sign, is it possible to shed us some light as to the other three conditions, or possibly?
I think the whole proposal comes to us as a package, and after your public hearing, you might get some input from the neighbors as to their support or objection to those ideas, and we take a considerable amount of lead from what the results of a neighborhood meeting are, and that's why we're very concerned about the 3-year delay from initial hearings to what's going on today. So if there was a motion to hold, that would give the opportunity to conduct one of those meetings. We could bring it back perhaps June 26th, 25th, so there's not a considerable delay, but get some input from the people out there and come on back and let's see what it looks like. And you have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, I just wanted to echo Commissioner Evans' comments, and I do think that as planning commissioners and having, I know there's been a lot of time spent on town center standards. I think Mr. Farlow said it best that, and I don't like the idea of chipping away. I think it's important for us to uphold the standards themselves. So I just want to echo what Commissioner Evans said.
One last question. If the elevation is 29 feet deep and we've got 24 feet allowed, which takes us to 53 feet, forgetting the 100 feet, could we see a little bit of height so that at least on the southbound, because as I said, on Durango being so wide, anybody coming on the northbound, really there's no point in putting a sign there because the width of Durango, you won't see any of the 24 feet above the ground.
That's certainly a very valid part of your argument. So, you have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move to obey item number 20 with the applicant's approval. Will you agree to an abeyance?
Oh, and I thank you very much for your sound advice, everybody.
June 25.
June 25, is that what you're doing?
Correct. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries. We now move to item number 21, RQR 33797. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor. The owner is B2 LLC. It's a required review of a previously approved variance which allowed for a 40-foot high, 14-foot by 48-foot off-premise sign at the northwest corner of Sahara Avenue and Valley View Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the existing billboard was found to be in good condition and received a final inspection on May 20th of 2009. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the required review. Staff would like to delete condition number 2 as the applicant has satiated this requirement. Please note additional letters of protest have been received after the publishing. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Good evening, Chairman. Commissioners, Rod Carter, 2880 Mead Avenue, on behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor. We appreciate the approval and ask for your approval moving forward.
Thank you. Anyone else to wish to attend in attendance wish to speak on this matter? And
thank you. Todd
yes,
Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. What was condition number 3?
It had to do with, if I may, Chairman.
Please.
The condition number 2 was that they had not received their final. They have done so, and therefore that is satisfied.
Well, I appreciate them keeping the sign nice.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed. Turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Do you have discussion?
No one's going to make a motion.
I was
Go right ahead.
I was just going to make a motion for approval of number 21 RQR 33797 with the new recommendation for you. Thank you, Pete.
And the change condition?
And a change condition.
Thank you.
Number 2, yeah. Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your vote.
Nice. Thank you.
Post. Motion's made and carried.
Council on July 1st.
Item number 22, I'll be abstaining on this one due to an ongoing relationship with Lamar Advertising.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 22, RQR 33828, required review public hearing. Applicant Lamar Central, outdoor owner Andrew Fonfa, required review of a previously approved special use permit U0040-96 for a 50-foot high, 14-foot by 48-foot off-premise sign at 3641 West Sahara Avenue, C1, Limited Commercial Zone, Ward 1.
Yeah.
Staff?
Mr. Co-Chairman, the existing billboard was found in good standing condition. The surrounding area has not experienced any significant development or land use changes. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of this application. Staff would like to amend condition number 1 as submitted to the clerk if approved as follows. The special use permit shall be placed on an agenda closest to the July 17, 2012 meeting, at which time the City Council may require the off-premise sign billboard be removed. The applicant shall be responsible for the notification costs of the review. Failure to pay the city for those costs may result in the requirement that the off-premise sign billboard is removed. Please note additional letters of protest have been received after the publishing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Scott Nafsky with Lamar Advertising, 1863 Helm Drive. We accept staff's conditions and ask you to approve it.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience want to speak for or against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the board?
Seeing no comments, I'd like to make a motion of approval of number 22 RQR 33828, following staff's recommendations and the amended condition as you read. Thank you.
There is a motion on the floor for approval of item two with amended condition number 1. Please cast your votes. And that motion has been approved, and that will go on to City Council on July 1st, 2009.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 23 is RQR 33829. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor, Inc. The owner is BBB Operating Company. It's a required review of a previously approved variance which allowed a 50-foot high, 12-foot by 24-foot off-premise sign at 601 North Main Street. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, please note that the staff report for this item, the correct one, is located in your supplemental sheet handed out today. After posting, the applicant has since obtained their final on their building permit on 5/27/09. As such, the approved condition number 2 can be deleted. Staff does note that the sign is not being properly maintained and is in a deteriorated state, and as such, staff is recommending denial. Please note we have received additional protests since publication.
Thank you. On behalf of, or declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name.
Rod Carter, 2880 Mead Avenue, on behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor. As I don't know if you can see in the picture or not, this is one of our older signs. We've got new technology. We've been out replacing all of our poster inventory, cleaning them up. The new technology allows us, for the copy, you see a lot of the posters pop, flag, tear, rip. The new technology allows for us to not have that. The elements affect us. We've cleaned it up. Hopefully we can get your approval moving forward.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone. Mr. Farlow.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I've got a real problem with the sign people running out at the last minute, right before the Planning Commission, and cleaning the stuff up. If they want to put a sign up, I expect that sign to be clean at all times. Not 2 days before the Planning Commission, not 30 days before the Planning Commission. I expect the sign to be cleaned up at all times. That's what their agreement is. And if they can't, I mean, we have to make an example here someplace. If they can't take care of their signs, take them down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and ask the question that Mr. Farlow posed.
The only thing that I can comment towards Mr. Farlow's concerns, they're valid concerns. 90% of our inventory is old. It's deteriorated. I think that there's a pretty good consensus among Clear Channel, Lamar, my peers before me with the commission and the city council. We've put a lot of money and a lot of dollars into inventory that's been around for 30 years. New ownership, new company. We're doing the best we can. We spend $1,200 just to have these permits finalized. This is an expensive business in a rough economy, and we're trying to take charge and get all this cleaned up. But hopefully, Mr. Farlow and everybody can understand that we've got inventory, we've got old inventory, and we're trying to make headway the best we can.
Mr. Please, I just I would assume that you make a pretty good amount of money on the revenue of this sign. So the
It's
point's well taken, I think.
To the contrary, but that's
Well, then let me buy it.
sure. You got it.
Split it with you.
You wouldn't be happy with what you
I think
got.
we're ready for a motion at this point. We're not going to negotiate a sales price, are we?
Saying that the last inspection out there was in April, and it was in pretty good condition. I'll go ahead and move for approval of RQR 33829, subject to all staff's recommendation and condition.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Opposed?
That one's almost historic in nature, huh?
Very much so.
Motion carries.
Goes for
Item,
council July 1st.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
thank you. Mr. Farlow did bring out good points, though, by the way. Well, I don't think that Mr. Evans was sincere in his offer to purchase it. Maybe he is. Okay. We've got special item number 30, or 24 rather, special use permit 335522. The applicant is the owner is Ettore and Brenda Vancheri. It's a request for a special use permit for the keeping of 300 carrier or racing pigeons at 6500 West End Road. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has constructed a 1,360 square foot aviary in order to house 300 carrier racing pigeons. Staff is recommending denial of this request due to the relative close proximity of the newly constructed and improved residential subdivision to the north, east, and west and southwest of the subject site, and finds that it's not the use would not be compatible or harmonious with those residential homes. Please note that if approved, amend condition number 1 as submitted to the city clerk to delete 19.04, reference to 19.04.010, and to reference 19.0.05. I'm sorry, backwards. Delete 19.04.05 and reference correctly 19.04010. Please note we have received additional comments after publication.
Thank you. Anyone declare the public hearing open? Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
I'm Brenda Van Carey, and this is my husband, Hector Van Carey.
Very good.
We live at 6500 West End Road. I have just a short little thing I'd like to read to you to explain what it is that we're doing. I think the main misconception of the public is that when you say 300 racing pigeons, they picture them flying around the neighborhood, landing on their roofs, backyards, and making a mess. This is so not the case with our racing birds. So if I can try and explain the actual procedure of how our racing birds are trained and raced, I think you will have a better understanding of what it is and how we do it. First, the birds come to us as babies, about 3 to 4 weeks old, and they stay in the loft. And we have pictures here to show you what the loft looks like. Right here, honey. That one. Not sure how to. Do we just put these face up? Oh, it shows us right there.
Turn them.
Yeah, rotate it 90 degrees.
That way.
There you go.
Okay, that's the housing of the birds. At this time, we clip their outer wings. This prevents the birds from flying, much like cutting a parrot's wings so it can't fly away. They are then let out of the loft so they can familiarize themselves to our backyard. This is when the homing imprint is made, which allows them to come home from 300 miles. This is done early in the morning for about 30 to 40 minutes. Then when they have gotten strong and are able to fly, this is around a 5 to 6 month old period, we can start training the birds to race competitively. Training consists of putting the birds in a crate and taking them anywhere of 20, 30, 40 miles away from their home, and they're allowed to fly back. When they come back to the loft, the most important thing for them to do is to fly inside the loft, where the electronic band on their leg triggers a computerized clocking system and lets us know which bird came to the loft first. We do not allow or want our birds to fly around the neighborhood. You see, this defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing, which is to race to their home and go inside to be clocked to become, who's going to be the winner. 90% of their life is inside the loft, and the time that they are out of the loft is a very, very controlled situation. So in a nutshell, if we allow our birds to fly around the neighborhood, then they would never come in for a race, and the point would be moot. What brings the birds into the loft is their food. The birds fly on an empty stomach, and they have been trained to know that the food is in the loft. So even as babies, my husband can have all the birds inside the loft by blowing a whistle, which the birds they have that as a signal it's time to eat. And in about 30 to 45 seconds, all the birds will be inside the loft. We also went to, I believe there were 10 denials that were sent out of 174. We went to all 10 of those homes, and we got the people directly behind us to say yes, and 4 other people. I have a piece of paper here to show that. This one here. These are the people that live directly behind us. That is the new development that the staff was, I think, citing and talking about. This gentleman here, can you see? Oh, right here. This one here lives, I believe, in Timber Creek, which is a good, almost a mile away. These are our immediate neighbors again, which already signed. They never said no, but we went to them before all of this and got their approval for it. And where's my other one? And then we have this one from some very good friends of ours, Dr. Goodman and Dr. Edwin Hamansky. Flip.
MD.
And we have more pictures if you guys would like to see them too. Oh, and then we also have this. Yeah, that was that.
You want to read this too?
Oh, the other thing too, our race season is from March till November, with basically July and August off for the heat. At the end of November is when we auction the birds off. This is done by the City of Hope, which is this letter right here. They handle the auction for us, and we donate 15% of the proceeds to this charity. The auction is nationwide and is entirely handled by the City of Hope, and that's the letter. And from the end of November until the following March, there are no birds in the loft.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Thank you. Todd Farley, 240 North 19th Street. I have a question for the applicants. Are these the same birds that came from that carrier pigeon aviary they had on Tonopah and Charleston around in there when they were forced to close that?
No, these are not.
Okay. But I just wondered, there was an issue about the birds there, and the people had no problems around there.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Please come on up.
Chairman, Commissioners, I'm Will Fonte, 5611 Donald Road. I live about approximately 2.5 miles north of the applicant here. I met Mr. Vancheri about a month ago. I'm in favor of this. I think it's a great deal to support continuing on with racing pigeons. I own racing pigeons. I think there's a misconception out there that these are the pigeons that are living in our backyards and breeding under eaves and eating our dog food and multiplying. These are pretty highly trained birds. They have pedigrees. They have identification. When they race them, they put electronic monitors on them, which when they come in and out of the loft, they're monitored the time they come in and all that. I've witnessed everything he said here. He can bring them in just blowing the whistle. They do come in. It's remarkable, but highly trained. Another thing I do like about it is it's a one-loft race, so at the conclusion of the race, the birds all leave the property. They get auctioned off and or returned back to the breeders. These birds are flown in from all over the United States, including Canada and England. These are really, really nice birds.
They're highly pedigreed.
Yeah.
So these birds average anywhere that the people have paid for them, anywhere from $500 to $5,000.
Yeah.
We have them on our property, like I said, for 9 months. We race them, and then at the end, November 21st, we're having a big auction with the City of Hope, who does it for us because we don't know how to do an auction, and then part of the proceeds go to them, which has been going on. In the letter from them, it's a very interesting letter. It says how much the pigeon community throughout the United States has donated to them.
If I could continue to, the charitable portion of this race is important to me. The City of Hope does a lot of cancer research for children. 2 years ago, I lost my nephew, 6-year-old nephew, to cancer. He fought a courageous battle for 3 years, and so I'm all behind the whole portion for the charity.
Mr. Forte, do you currently race the pigeons out of your home 2.5 miles from this location?
No, sir, I do not race pigeons. I have pigeons at home. I'm not into the racing portion yet, but I do know quite a bit about the racing portion of it.
How many do you have?
I have about 25.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Sir?
My name is Jeff Earthman. My address is 1501 Rawhide Drive. I've had birds all my life since I was a kid. My dad's had them since like 52 or 56, long time. I met Hector before I moved here. I met him in about 88, and he's always kept the birds. He used to have them years ago, and he had sort of the same situation he's looking to do now, and he was very good at it, and he kept the birds healthy and clean, and they were always away from the neighbors. And I actually belong to the Silver State Racing Pigeon Club. We have about 25 members here in town. We do the competing against each other, where his is just the one loft race type deal. And it's a little differently. My father actually lives in the county, and he's been approved for 300 birds on a half an acre, and I believe Hector's on about 1.25 acres, something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, the pigeons are just they're people. If they're not educated about them, they don't know. Everybody thinks they're the ones that are filthy, nasty, running around the street, and that's what we don't like, because they give our birds a bad name. When our birds just go out, they exercise, they come back in, and we start taking them down the road, like she said, and educating them to come home from even 600 miles. But what he's trying to do is 300 miles. So, that's about all I'd like to say. Thank you.
And that's a picture of the inside of the loft where the birds live. That's what it looks like. That's nest boxes.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Sir?
My name is Greg Koslevich, 6519 Lokia. I live right behind where this property is. My house butts right up to the fence. I'm opposed to it. They may be nice birds and clean birds, but 300 pigeons are going to make a lot of noise. You're not going to be able to sit outside in your backyard. 300 birds are going to have 300 continuous waste. I don't know about the foul odor, but I know it'll attract flies. Flies attract the other bad pigeons because they feed on them. And I'm just opposed to it.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, one more.
Thank you. My name is Dave Wooten. I live at 829 Clarkway Drive. I'm over in 89106, which is a little bit different area, more in the center of downtown over here. And there is some positive precedence for this. In the late 80s, I approached this commission with the idea of bringing classic pigeon racing to Las Vegas. And I believe Gary Reese might have been my councilman then. Right now, Gary Reese. Right now, I think it's Mr. We just had a change. Barkley. What we did at that point in time, Forrest McCulloch, who was over at the Union Plaza, and I sat down, and he helped me form a way to bring a mini convention here in Las Vegas where we would put on a homing pigeon race. And we did so, and we held that for 10 years. It was quite successful. We would stay in the downtown area here. We'd sell as many as 50 to 100 rooms. And it was sort of the beginning of it. So it's evolved now to where it's much, much nicer. And I'm definitely in support of this. And this is a first-class operation here. This race will be notice nationwide. It does bring in revenue. The people who like to fly and breed homing pigeons are not too far removed from the thought processes of those who fly racehorses. We are in horse property here. So I do defer with the gentleman who mentioned that there's a problem with flies and odor. You're all welcome to go there. There will be a problem with neither. And on the same property are several very valuable show horses, and they're kept in the utmost condition. So I would definitely like to support this. I think it's a nice thing that Las Vegas can do. It's a growing sport. It's a very unique sport. And the pigeons that are here, some of the parents of them actually cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And that's documented. So I would really like to recommend that you vote for this.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I have some questions because I am concerned, and I'm one of those that's not well educated about racing pigeons. I'm one of those that conjures up in my mind the dirty old pigeons that I get really tired of. But I look at the burden you have here today is to show us that your use is going to be harmonious with the properties around you, right?
Correct.
With your property. And so I need a little more clarification here.
Our property...
Well, hold on. Let me ask the questions that I want answers to, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Odors. I'm concerned about odors. I'm concerned about the extra waste. I am concerned about the flies, although that is horse property and there's always a lot of flies out there, but I am concerned about, tell me more, educate me on what's going to happen here with these pigeons. And the noises. I mean, it would drive me nuts if I lived close by and I heard the noise level of pigeons. It drives me nuts as it is, and there's only 15 or 20 of them outside my house. And so is that what the neighbors are going to hear? I mean, I don't understand, and that's why I would like you to come. So again, it's the odors, the waste, the noises, and the flies. Tell me about that.
Okay, two ways I'd like to answer your questions. First, the City of Hope that wrote this letter, I'd like to read their paragraph on here because it kind of touches on what you're asking. These birds are not noisy. They coo, and at a noise level far lower than a nearby barking dog, and they are quiet at night. Pigeon fanciers maintain a clean environment for their birds. Special flooring prevents birds from standing in their own droppings. They rarely defecate when flying because they fly on an empty stomach, thus promoting a greater incentive to fly home. Our particular property, 6500 West End, the property directly on either side of me, they're both the same size, acre and a half, all horse property, have horses on them. The new development is directly behind us. We, like I said, went to that neighborhood and got signatures saying that it was okay. We invited them over to the property is what we did so they could see the facility. The flies are not a problem. We have a fly misting system which is hooked up in the horse stall and along the side of the pigeon loft here. And that's how we don't have any flies because we don't want our show horses being bit by the flies either. The waste is picked up the same way that the horse manure is. Every day we have a huge dumpster at the front of our property in order for us to put this in. And my husband is retired right now, and that's just what he does full time. So he's picking up 3 stalls every day with the 3 horses we have and all of the pigeon poo-poo. And that is put into a container. We take it out and we dump it into the dumpster. It is done daily. There's probably about $4,000 to $6,000 a year we spend for just the pigeon health maintenance on giving them vitamins. They are probably better health-wise than most of us in this room here. You have to have them healthy. The reason for the loft, the way we built it to code with all the permits applied for and received, is for ventilation, for the birds to breathe. There is no smell. When the neighbors directly behind us came over, they were amazed. They were like, I don't smell anything, and they don't hear anything. They haven't had a bird on their property because, like I was telling you earlier, the birds are not allowed to fly on other people. That defeats the whole purpose. They're let out as babies, and they're trained, this is your home, this is your home, this is your home, and that's where they go. Did I answer it?
Mister, if I can jump in here real quick. I think Commissioner Keene referred to noise, waste, and odor.
Okay.
And I hear some of the answers to that.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned that they're not noisy now. Are they there already?
Well, we already have some there, yes.
300 of them?
No. There's probably right now, I'd say about what, 45, 50?
Okay. So you're saying that the noise isn't an issue, but I'm wondering about the collective noise of 300. And then you say the waste is not an issue and there's
Correct.
no odor to speak of because
Correct.
they're...
It's picked up daily. It's not allowed to accumulate to where there would be an odor.
Okay. And Commissioner King, the other question, or Mr. Ellsworth, the other question that I have is, do the birds attract other pigeons? I don't know what the term would be, but like feral birds, wild
No.
pigeons? And if so, would they mate with them?
No. Wild birds do not associate with the pedigreed birds. I can't give you the technical reasons why. I don't know. Maybe my husband could answer that better since he's the pigeon fancier.
Actually, when a racing pigeon gets close to a wild pigeon, a racing pigeon will actually kind of attack it because we hate wild pigeons. Anytime there's a wild pigeon near our neighborhood, even near the stalls where we keep our horses, we try to do something about it. What I do is I put them in a crate, and when I take the birds training, I let them go out in the wild. And that's what I do with the wild pigeons out in the desert. So this way, we do not want them to come close to our pigeons because we spend a lot of money medicating them. We clean them every day. We disinfect them. One of the letters we brought here was from Dr. Margaret Goodman and Dr. Flip, that they're very into Alf, obviously, and they've been actually in the loft with me. They've smelt it because I deodorize, disinfect everything every day. We actually treat our pigeons better than we do our horses, and we have very, very expensive horses in the back. And we do show jumping. And like I say, you will not. Actually, I've had a few people complain to me, pigeon guys, and that is they've come over. They've said to me, get rid of these horses because they're bringing flies to our pigeons. And that's the truth. Because, horses do attract a lot of horse flies and stuff. So we actually just got rid of 3 more horses. We have only 3 left. But our pigeons do not attract because there's the way the loft is designed. It's very hygienic. And we've had, like I say, a lot of people go in through the corridor and look and smell. Our neighbors have come over and looked at it. And they're all amazed by what we do. And now,
Commissioner Ellsworth, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I still don't. I know that the people on both sides you indicate, I think, are in agreement, and they signed something. Is that correct?
Correct, and directly behind us.
The gentleman who lives right behind you does not agree.
I have not met him.
He said he lives right behind you.
No. Are you the neighbor with Sandra and Bill?
No. I'm next door to them. For your property, your corner of your fence.
We'll just let it go that he lives close.
From the audience.
Okay.
Okay. So, I do have a couple of questions. Does the animal control get involved in the inspection and licensing or permitting of this activity?
The animal control was asked to come to a meeting that I had with the planning division. They never showed up. We've had animal control come on our property because they're just amazed. We have a reputation that how healthy. All the veterinarians know us. We have a special, we're bringing in a bird specialist veterinarian because we have horse veterinarians, but we don't think he's as knowledgeable as a bird veterinarian. And we know more about birds than most veterinarians because they actually call us when it comes to birds. And we try and explain to them what's wrong with them and if they have cancer or whatever. Because a lot of vets in this town are not very knowledgeable with birds.
You put on a compelling argument. You really do. But the fact remains that I think in total we had 32 protests. And while you may have done an excellent job of explaining to us about the sport and how you care for them and protect them as best you can, with 32 people within the area objecting, it's still very
Why were we
considerable.
only told there was 10?
I haven't the slightest idea.
There are 24 late protests
24
in
late.
addition to the 8 that we had at publication.
It's 30.
Mr. Chairman, through you and Commissioner Ellsworth, I still have a couple of unanswered questions. One is, and Commissioner Ellsworth, you're the attorney, so you know the term of coming to the nuisance or something like that. I'm wondering if these people have been here a long time. and the subdivision is obviously a newer development. And I'm thinking 1.35 acres, perhaps the code would, perhaps we could provide some discretion in the code, but I'm wondering whether 300 would be excessive and whether the applicant would consider fewer. And whatever happens with this, if there's an appetite for an approval, I think it would really be mandatory or prudent to have a period of review to make sure that
Doesn't Title 19 answer your question there?
No,
On
I'm
the
asking these
300?
gentlemen if they're, I'm thinking maybe there might be a compromise. You're allowed only, what, 20?
If I'm correct, what I'm being told is that the SUP is required for any racing pigeons.
That is correct, per Title 7 and Title 19.
But up to, is there a permitted amount?
Up to 300 is the maximum that is permitted.
300 is the maximum?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm thinking that maybe there might be an appetite for a number less than that.
Do they know it's already been approved for other people?
Yes, I think we have another question.
Yes, applicant.
Mr. Goins.
Are you doing this for pleasure or business?
Pleasure.
Pleasure. And how many of these flights do you have? Are they monthly, weekly?
Oh, you mean the actual race?
Yes.
The schedule set up, they have like an old bird schedule, they have a young bird schedule, and it's, what is it, guys, 8 or 9 a season?
Yeah, 3 races.
Oh, and for our race, 3.
So there's 3 races per season. In the season, what are the months for the race season?
Well, our races will be in November. The club races are from March to
13th, 17th.
13th, 17th, and the 21st of November.
And the birds leave the property.
How do the pigeons react to aircraft? Because a lot of small aircraft fly out in that area. What's the height these birds go to? And the reason I asked that, I was just looking on the internet at some pigeon races that I happened to see. You guys remember the Las Vegas racing pigeons? Derby?
The Las Vegas?
No, the Derby? No, that's
Okay.
Mr. Earthman.
But what I'm seeing, what I see on the internet is most of these are out in New Jersey, Oklahoma. I see a race that the
They're all over
pigeons
the
all
country.
take off from the side of a 18-wheeler,
Mhm.
and they're all going out over an open acreage.
Mhm.
And one of the things I see here with the findings from staff in Title 19 1A.060, it asks, is the subject site physically suitable for the type of intensity of land use proposed? And it says that the site itself, which is yours, is 1.35 acres, which is physically suitable for the type and intensity of the land use proposed. However, the lot width is only 100 feet, which does not fully isolate the use from adjacent properties. And I look at the site as it asks about streets and highways facilities. Access to the property are or will be adequate in the size to meet the requirements of the proposed use. That's adequate, but does the special use permit at the site in question will be inconsistent with or compatible with the public health, safety, and welfare of the overall objectives of the general plan? And it said approval of the special use permit will compromise the public health, safety, and welfare of the surrounding area.
And what does that mean? Because when I read that, I have here written how.
Well, I'm thinking with your 100-foot lot in close proximity to these homes that are existing, when these 300 birds get the starter gun, or however you tell them, get ready, set, go, are you going to have, 100 of them come out the coop and right into the side of a house?
No.
Or, do you have enough area
Okay.
to let these birds out and do their thing?
Okay, two ways I want to answer that. One is for the actual race that is 300 miles away, the birds aren't let go from our backyard. They are hauled 300 miles away, okay?
And then they come back home.
They come back home. There's not going to be 300 birds land in our backyard, boom, at once. They get broke up. You'll have, like a marathon race, you'll have maybe 4 or 5 out front and then maybe 6 behind it. They're going to be broken up. So they're going to be coming to us over a period of anywhere from, I'd say, 3 to 4 or 5 hours.
So it's like
coming in.
going on Interstate 15 south to L.A., which is about 287
We
miles
go
from
north.
here.
Okay.
South.
No, I'm saying we fly the birds
Oh,
north.
you go north.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go there and you let them go, and then
Correct.
you what? Jump in the car, rush home, and you
Oh, no,
wait
no,
for
no, no.
them
We
to
have
come?
somebody else that does that for us. We call him a hauler or a liberator. Okay, so we have our truck, we have a trailer in the back that we put all the birds into. And, for instance, Jeff Earthman has expressed interest in doing this for us. We'll get a friend of ours to do it. Take the birds early in the morning. They release them as soon as the sun comes up. So, 6 a.m., 6:30, time of year, depends on the time of year. By 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we start looking in the sky going, okay, where are the birds, where are the birds? And they're broken up by now. They've been flying 5, 6, 7 hours to get back home, okay? When they come home, like I said, there's not going to be 300 of them come at once. It's just unheard of. It's impossible. They break up, you know. They'll come home. They are exhausted now. They are tired. They are hungry, you know, because they fly on an empty stomach. So as soon as they come, they go straight into the loft. And they're clocked, and it tells us which one came first and the time they came in. But I think there was something else you wanted to know, too.
Just the public health, safety, and welfare of the surrounding area. That's
Yeah. Mine was a two-part. So that's the actual race day, how it's done. So there's not, like I said, 300. On actual training days, we have 5 sections in the loft. Show them the loft, honey. And we do not let out. Okay, first of all, if we get 300 birds, we will not be letting all 300 out at one time. We let them out controlled. The 5 sections they hold. Each section holds how many, honey?
It holds 180 perches each section.
So about 180 birds per section. We will let them out per section, not 180, maybe about 50 or 60, to do the training which I described earlier, which is where they're in our backyard and they're circling. They don't land anywhere but in our loft. Does that kind of answer that question for you?
If I could comment on one of your questions you had.
Y'all gonna have Mike Tyson over there?
Yeah. No, he's
We're hoping
invited.
to.
No, he's invited by Dr. Goodman. Dr. Goodman was the fight doctor for all the big fights. She's one of our sponsors.
That's
And
why I asked.
Yeah, she asked Mike Tyson to come over, and unfortunately, with the accident he just died, we don't know.
You asked one question about the aircraft, and you also mentioned the Racing Pigeon Derby.
Right. When I go to aircraft, and also because out in this area now we're starting to see some of our alternative energy wind generation systems are about to come up. There's one out the ground from a gentleman out there that owns an electrical company, and so, you know, these are the things I'm concerned about is what's happening up in the sky.
Well, when the birds are traveling home from long distances, they travel at 5-6 feet off the ground, and that is when they're at a long distance, coming from flying through the mountains and the plains and everything like that. When they get into a town such as Vegas, they fly treetop level, telephone pole level. I've actually been training my birds where I see them fly below, the big high tension wires. They go down below those because they don't really like them, but they go down below them. And then you had mentioned the Las Vegas Derby. Well, that was myself and a partner of mine, and the Department of Aviation recommended that if we were outside of 10,000 feet from an airport, we would be okay. And I know that Hector is 18,000 feet from North Las Vegas Airport. And the planes fly much higher than the birds do. The birds fly basically treetop level. That's how they do their navigation, is staying as low as they can.
Thank you. I think we've just about talked this to its logical conclusion. We have one more ready for motion.
Just 2 quick questions, because I'm an animal lover: horses, dogs, turtles. I have all of it. My first question is: has PETA gotten involved and tried to stop you because they're pretty active in things that aren't right? No,
not at
and
all.
my second question is, you're looking at 8 of the most seasoned Nevadans probably in the city that have lived here a very long time, and not one of us, I don't think, has ever heard of this. And what I would like to see is you to go to your neighborhood school and maybe bring small groups of children to teach them about this because it's that interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can
And
sit-
just the
Thank
Title
you.
19 has been approved, I think, to 4 or
Chair,
5 people in town.
I'd like to make a suggestion here. You make a compelling argument, and I, unfortunately, you're dealing with a group of people that aren't really familiar with your industry. Okay, but I do like what you're saying, and I want to believe you. So here's my suggestion. I'm going to move for approval, but I want to add a condition. That is, we come back in a year. That gives us a season to do a trial run to see how we like it. If the neighbors come back and they tell us, hey, this is a mess, these are the problems we're having, we'll reevaluate at that point. So I'd like to move for approval of item number 24, subject to the conditions of staff, with the added condition that it's subject to a 1-year review.
And that would be at a public hearing of the Planning Commission?
Yes.
Then that would be the condition, there should be a 1-year review at a public hearing of the Planning Commission.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion's made. No, we haven't had a display.
My computer went down, so I think it affected all of us.
Okay, let's we.
Take a voice vote and then recess.
Okay, well let's do a voice vote on item number 24, and then we'll take a recess because we're having some technical problems. Okay, all in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed indicate by saying no. Motion carries by unanimous
And that goes
vote.
that goes forward to the City Council at their public hearing of July 1st.
Are all these people waiting for? I'm willing to move them up.
I'm just guessing. I
have
no idea if that's
I'm
true.
gonna ask.
I'm just
I'm
wondering.
gonna get them off the list.
By the signature, don't say check drug barrel and Charleston. About two houses up from the check guy raised those. We never knew anything about it. They developed that, so he had to move from someplace else. Right, yeah.
The gray box comes up and says it's about.
That's why I wondered if those are the same birds that moved out there. They had to move something and move the birds somewhere.
Go way back for someone to remember when Brad Jerry used to fix the machines in the meat. Don't you remember when we broke down? Brad used to get down and fix them.
Talking about you going back to Brad and George, Steve George.
Steve didn't know. Doug, are all these kids here for the pictures? Here for the last item on the agenda for the school, Fort Gospel.
Commissioner Goins, you going to come out to the race? We're going to have a bunch of fighters there.
Yeah, I got a 6-year-old. We may want to put a bird in there. Call him Joshua and see what he do.
Tournament of Champions. It's on the internet. You see the whole deal on there. Come on out, steak dinner the night before, everything.
Yeah, you
Everything
take my card and then.
Oh, is it okay if we approach?
Yes.
What's a lesson learned, right? Yeah. That's funny. Well, good. I'm glad we're going. Huh? No problem. I can figure it out for you. I'll give it to you at the end of the meeting.
I'll have to ask her if she knows you. What's his name? Fonte. Oh.
Keep an eye on it.
He doesn't joke. How'd their conversation go with this guy?
Hey, Jim. What's the number back there? What's the number, the telephone number? What's the telephone number? I'll just give it to you after it. I don't know why this thing doesn't really work. I just don't know how to work it. So there's a button on the phone, so you got to push that. Yeah.
here. Short one. I didn't mean to. Okay, I'd like to reconvene the meeting, and I'd like to pull item number 33 to the front. We've got a good group of people that have been sitting patiently, and there's no reason to prolong their agony. Delay their return home. So, item number 33 is a site development review, 34172. The applicant owner is the International Church of the Foursquare Gospel. It's a major amendment to a previously approved site development plan review for a proposed 3,600 square foot modular building, a 481 square foot outside storage yard, and a 1,920 square foot playground addition to an existing church house of worship at 7801 West Alexander Road. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this request will facilitate the placement of 4 classrooms, an administrative office, a 481 square foot outside storage yard, and a 1,920 square foot playground area. The applicant is proposing to provide no additional landscaping along the southwest east perimeters where 8 feet would normally be required. Staff is concerned that without the landscaping that there's no adequate buffers to the residential properties along this section. If provided, the requirement would be to provide 71 trees along those buffers in those areas. Staff finds that the modular building is not compatible with the surrounding area and that the lack of landscaping does not provide an adequate buffer to the residential and is therefore recommending denial. Please note that we have received additional comments.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record and sign in.
John Lopman, 8965 Southeastern, representing the applicant.
James Moore, 7801 West Alexander, applicant.
Thank you.
Just a real quick rundown on the site. The new building is right here. Has the classrooms in as described. It's a 60 by 60 modular building. Although the building is decorative, we've got decorative treatments to the modular building. It's not a regular portable looking building. It's a pit set building, meaning the finished floor and the adjacent grade are at the same level, so there's no ramps and stairs going up to the building. So it does look very permanent in nature. The reason the church is going with the modular building is it's quicker. There's a lot of kids that are going to show up to this thing in late August, early September, and this is the quickest thing we can get up. It's also very cost effective. As you can see by this rendering, we are treating it as a regular, permanent, slab-on-grade, stick-built structure. And talk a little bit about the location and of the playground and storage area. You see it right here. It's just to the south of the existing structure, which is right here. And it goes along the south side here. The storage yard is over in this in the southeast corner over here. Staff is correct. We currently are not proposing any landscape buffer along the south edge here. We may be able to accommodate that. And we do have some questions on some of their other recommendations if we want to go over that now.
Could I talk about the landscape for just a minute? This plan view doesn't depict the channel that's existing, doesn't depict the back of houses and that subdivision that's there. Currently there is a channel, 60-foot wide channel, as well as a block wall and an access along that channel. Those homes are elevated. There's probably 18 feet of block wall that we look out of the back side of that church, and there's no landscape across there. So from the church's standpoint, and as a contractor, I would think the 60-foot there is an adequate buffer for them. It's an adequate buffer for us as a church. There's no landscape back there when they built the home, so we think that it's compatible by not having any landscape. If we have to put landscape back there, we're going to lose that playground area. And being landlocked and not being able to grow outside our current property there, we just are trying to use the property we have for its best use. We've talked to our only neighbor that's going to be impacted by that storage unit. That's the gentleman here. I've got an email from him. He's seen our site plan. He approves our site plan. He has no problem with the storage area where it's at. He's the only person that we would impact. This is an existing landscape courtyard. We're going to leave the same thing there. And so we're really not impacting anybody we've talked to. And we feel like we've contacted those people around us that we would be impacting.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance like to speak on this matter? Mr. Farlow?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Well, it's true about those modular buildings. They're quick, they're cost effective, and they go to pot real quick. And what are we going to look at 20 years from now? The second thing is, I believe this landscaping is a must. If not for those neighborhoods, because they do have the channel as a reference there, but those kids need some shade. I reference those locust trees that the fellow wanting to bring those signs in at that Lowe's thing. Those beautiful locust trees provide a lot of shade for those kids. And I mean, if you look at the pictures I saw on the overhead there, it was just a bare rock right there. There's nothing there for those kids. Nothing there. So I mean, the landscaping is a two-part deal. I mean, it's to look nice and also provide something for the kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? I don't think we need everyone in the audience to come. I think we could cut that short by doing a rather quick survey and just ask for a show of hands, those in attendance that are in support, and those that are in opposition. So it looks like everybody is in support, so I don't think we need to have everyone speak, but if we do have someone who would like to get something on the record, they're more than welcome.
Yes, my name is Mark Hobb. 9885 West Pebble Road. I actually represent a mobile home company that I am helping with the church. It is not my building, but just to give you some downside on what the church is doing. Most mobile buildings you will see, like the Clark County School District, are wood buildings. The church has gone as far as having stucco on the building to make it look exactly like the church. We have done this for North Las Vegas Police Department as their substation. The buildings are 20 years. They were stick-built, insulated. The roofs, everything is compatible to a stick-built building. They are even pit setting this, so the building will be on a foundation that you can walk in like you're walking into your own home. I'm helping with the church to orchestrate all this. I'm licensed by the state of Nevada, so I am making sure that they are going to have a building that is safe for the children, that is to the state's manufactured housing stamp of approval. So I am just in approval of this building, and I think it's a beautiful building that they're trying to match with the church.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Or seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
I just had one question.
What's that?
You mentioned something about a ramp, so you'll have a ramp so a disabled child or
Actually, we won't need a ramp because the finished
It's
floor
level.
of the building is level with the ground. We won't need any of that.
Okay.
So you just go right in flat.
So somebody in a wheelchair, somebody with a stroller, so they're
Right.
going to go zip. They'll be able to zip right in.
Just like any other building.
Thank you.
Okay, my concern with the project is 95% addressed by the design of the building and its compatibility with the existing church that's there. My remaining concern is with the landscaping. You say that the existing landscaping that's to the east of the parcel is going to remain. You had a landscape patio, I believe was the term you used. You have a rendering that shows that?
This is currently landscaped now with a courtyard. This is where the storage would go. This is all moving to the west. This is where the playground would go. There is
You make a very small circle there with your finger when you say where the playground is going.
The playground is here. And this
Yeah,
area.
the playground
That
is
is the upper limit is the dark line there?
No, sir, that's an existing sidewalk.
Okay.
It's actually sloping from here down to the channel here. and we're going to we'd like to put a retaining wall in there and bring it in flat so it's all level.
Is there the opportunity to put some landscaping between the existing wall and the new retaining
There
wall?
could be a little offset because we can't sit right on top of the channel wall.
Correct.
Yes, sir, but maintaining it would be difficult. We could pave it like it's on the other side with asphalt.
You couldn't tolerate some Italian cypress or anything that would add some green and some kind of buffer, because you're going to get some sun bouncing off that wall that's going to make it warm for the children.
We're proposing a block wall that runs the complete length of the property, right off of that channel. And what we could do to give them some shade is a canopy, like you see at the parks that provide shade, the nylon canopy. I mean, if
save a lot of money if you plant a tree.
Then I guess we should plant a tree. I think we should plant a tree. What do you think? I think that's what you're trying to say. Let's plant a tree.
Let's plant a tree.
Where should we plant the tree?
I don't know. That's up to your landscape architect to do it, and bring in some racing pigeons now.
Okay.
Let's get some green there somehow, and I think that you need to proceed with that. And I think you might have yourself a project that's willing of consideration of site development review. But how do we get some level of assurance that the landscaping will be? She's scribbling away as we talk.
Can we address, while that's going on, can we address some of the other conditions?
Yeah, if you want to press your luck, you certainly can.
Well, mostly clarifications.
Okay, let's get that part.
Okay. On condition number 5, the technical landscape plan signed by a registered architect, landscape architect, residential designer, or civil engineer, we would like this to be amended with licensed landscape contractor, if that's okay.
The issue there is, of course, is that you won't be able to get a permit for a backflow valve for your landscaping from the building department. So we can add that if you'd like, but you will not get a permit.
Which sounds like it's going in the wrong direction on you.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Okay, twist our hand.
Okay, it's a nice try.
All right. Item 14, which is grant a 20-foot wide multi-use non-equestrian trail easement along Alexander. We want to clarify, just make sure that it's not a 15-foot wide easement for a 20-foot wide trail. 5 feet of that trail width would be in the public right-of-way.
Bart Anderson,
Public Works,
I believe that is accurate. It's a 20-foot trail, but 15 foot of it is easement. So I would clarify that.
So if you could have that amended to a 15-foot? That's what they have to the east.
Right, and so the amendment would be grant a 15-foot wide multi-use non-equestrian trail easement for a total width of 20 feet for the existing trail along Alexander Road prior to the issuance of any permits.
That meets your needs, and it meets your needs?
That would be perfect.
Okay. You're batting 500 so far.
Item 16, there is a 20-foot wide sewer easement along this edge right here. We're proposing, again, the perimeter wall that's required by planning on the property line. There's an existing wall along the residential edge over here already that was required by planning, and there's a wall right here existing inside that sewer easement, and those are 6-foot high walls. So we're asking that this be amended to maybe 6 feet plus any retaining needed on the south property line instead of 3 feet high.
That's a request from Public Works.
Right, I'm kind of trying to follow the request. The existing sewer easement runs along the eastern edge.
Right.
You're saying that there are 2 existing block walls that currently cross that sewer line?
Correct.
As well as a channel.
Is there access for maintenance purposes to that sewer line? That those walls, do they have gates in them? Do they have any way to get through them for access?
Yes.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we add the language unless otherwise allowed by the collection systems planning section of the Department of Public Works. To the end of this condition, this allows us to look at it between now and City Council to determine if that's going to work for us or not. And we can make, no, does not go to council? Would be final action this time. All right, well, that condition would still allow us to make that determination by looking at what it currently exists. So if we modify it to say unless otherwise allowed by the city collection systems planning section of the Department of Public Works.
It gives you the opportunity to review it and approve it or reject it. And at that point in time,
Fair
you're
enough.
back to the original language.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and item number 4 is there is an existing basketball hoop. It's about right here. And we would like, if possible, if we could amend this condition to say, or provide temporary vehicular barricades while the hoop is in use. The hoop's not used while there's a lot of traffic going through, so they do use this zone for basketball out in the parking lot when the parking lot's empty, and it could be easily barricaded off, so if anybody did drive in, they have these other aisles to drive through.
And the pole's actually behind the curb.
Yeah, it's behind the curb. Yeah, it's behind the curb back there.
If I may, I believe it's in required parking.
That is correct.
That's correct.
That's not a play area, that's a parking area.
Well, I'm not sure if it's required. Yeah, required is subjective.
We need 92 spots. I think we provide 130.
They do have sufficient parking if they wish to eliminate that parking and stripe it differently, but at this time it's part of their parking plan and is striped as such as for parking, not for playground area.
So if we change the striping, we would meet the...
Well, if I may, you could modify your entire parking plan to show us that you want to have a play area and not a parking area. So that would require restriping and redesigning your parking area to establish a new play area.
We'll move it.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay, thank you then. Anybody, so the public hearing has been closed, questions have been asked, so we're ready for a motion?
If I may, the one condition that I have is that
The landscaping motion.
landscape plan shall be submitted showing a minimum of 5 24-inch box trees approximately 30 feet on center on the south property line from the east property line to east edge of the classroom building. Trees shall be irrigated and permanently maintained. Landscape plan shall be subject to approval of the Planning and Development Department.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make a motion for approval of item number 33, subject to the staff conditions as amended.
No, you made them already. Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Do you agree with all the conditions? I'm sorry, as amended.
Yes.
Thank you.
All remaining, yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that is final action. In the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you.
We now go back to item number 25 and related item number 26. 25 is a special use permit. The applicant is LV Land Partners. The owner is Ohlert 192 Trust, or 1992 Trust. It's for a mixed-use development along the east alignment of 3rd Street, approximately 150 feet south of Charleston Boulevard. Item number 26 is site development review 33-587. It's for a 16-story, 238-unit mixed-use development with a 22,500 square feet of commercial space. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, current site conditions consist of 2 small fourplexes and 1 single-family dwelling, all of which are on their own respective lots. The applicant is requesting to redevelop the subject site into a 16-story mixed-use development consisting of 22,500 square feet of commercial space and 238 apartment units. As part of this development, all parking, with the exception of 7 handicapped parking spaces, proposed by means of shared parking agreements with the entitled mixed-use development to the north and an off-site parking agreement with a proposed parking structure located at the northeast corner of Casino Center Boulevard and Coolidge Avenue. As of yet, no documentation has been provided to the Department of Planning and Development to substantiate such arrangements. But the proposed mixed-use development meets the standards and objectives of the Downtown Centennial Plan, and the request is compatible with the existing commercial and residential developments in the area. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of this site development plan review request. Staff would like to amend condition number 1 of special use permit 33590 as submitted to the clerk, if approved, to reflect code section 19.04.010. Please note additional letters of support have been received after the publishing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record and sign in, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Tabitha Fittimet, 3800 Howard Hughes Parkway, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We appreciate staff's favorable recommendation, and we can agree to all the conditions of approval. Just a couple points for the Commission's information. If I could direct your attention to the overhead. The site plan in front of you depicts the proposed project here. This is actually an addition to a previously approved 1,000-unit apartment complex. The area around it in black and white represents the existing conditions. There are existing buildings in this area. Can you hear me if I talk here? Okay. This site plan here actually shows how this project relates to what was previously approved. So this is the area here that we are proposing to add to the previous approval, and this area here shows you the footprint of the previously approved 1,000-unit apartment complex. There's commercial along Charleston, units above, handicap parking space, and also parking spaces for the commercial, the proposed commercial development, a courtyard here, for the benefit of the residents and also for the benefit of the public who might come to the commercial projects that we're proposing. With respect to the elevations, your backup material doesn't really do the building any justice. The one-dimensional elevations don't truly depict exactly what we intend to do in terms of development of the building. So I brought some additional renderings which I'd like to show you. This elevation here kind of gives you a better understanding of exactly what we're doing to add some visual relief to the building. There are kind of canopies over each of the windows. There's warm color and different color variations throughout the building, which is what we did on the previous project to add some visual relief. These here, there's also, wrought iron along the buildings here it kind of allows for a small balcony. This here kind of shows you, these are some vignettes, close-ups of the building, if you will. This is the commercial area. It's definitely a contemporary style, but we have added a lot of architectural features so that it doesn't look like a huge block. We have the landscaping along 3rd Street that's already in existence. The city has developed that. And then we have landscaping around the exterior. As you can see by this plan, we've met the Centennial Plan requirements along Charleston and also along 4th Street with the previously approved project. So that will kind of all be one comprehensive proposal. So with that, Commissioners, if you have any questions for me, I'm here to answer them, and I'd appreciate your support of the project.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on this matter? Mr. Farlow?
Thank you, Todd Farlow. Was the parking part of the entire development, or is it separate?
Thank you. Glenn?
The proposed development has on the subject site has 7 handicap parking spaces and is going to utilize parking with the adjacent property to the north, as well as an off-site parking structure, as what the applicant has proposed to staff.
Would you like me to add to that, Mr. Chairman?
Please, if you'd like to add to it.
This is actually we're treating this project as phase 1 of the overall project as approved if this portion is approved. So before, while we develop this particular portion, the 238 units, we intend to utilize on-site parking on the adjacent parcel, like I said, which was previously approved for the 1,000 units. When we are prepared, hopefully at some point if this project is successful, to move forward with the additional 1,000 units, we have approved as part of that proposal a 1,500 space off-site parking garage, automated parking garage that is located less than a quarter mile from this project north at the northeast corner of Coolidge and Casino Center.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Ms. Finneman. Tell me again, I understand there's phases going to happen, and I wasn't here on the commission when they approved this previously. the off-site parking, as I thought about it candidly, I'm not comfortable with. But what I want to know is, initially we're talking about all on-site. Your phase one, all parking will be right here on-site, correct?
Well, I don't know that we'll be able to accommodate all on-site parking. I mean, there isn't really any parking standards per se because of the Centennial Plan. We will have a fair amount of on-site parking, yes. I mean, there will maybe not 238 spaces, but a significant amount more on-site than what would be allowed if we developed the whole property, or what we could accommodate, excuse me, if we develop the whole property.
Okay. So my question is, what if it doesn't work? I mean, you know, I know that there's difficulties out there. People they're not buying them or renting them. So what's going to happen? What's Plan B?
Sure. When the property owner originally contemplated apartments on this parcel, we only controlled that area that is for the 1,000 units. And at that time, he did a demographic and market study, a very comprehensive study. And what he found was that there is a very big demand in downtown Las Vegas for apartment complexes. As he moved forward, as the economic conditions changed, he wasn't able to successfully finance that 1,000 unit complex. So this is kind of Plan B, if you will. This proposal, since he was able to secure these parcels or enter into an agreement with the property owner on the parcels that are currently before you, he was able to propose a small micro version of what was previously approved, the 238 units. He is still very confident that there is a demand for apartment complexes downtown. There's always a fair amount of risk associated with development, obviously, but he is very confident, like I said, that if he is able to obtain the financing, along with all of the due diligence that he's already done and along with the due diligence that the banks will require in this sort of financing environment, that it will be successful. It is in a location that could support either a combination of residential, commercial, and office type uses, but if the residential doesn't end up being something that he can get financed and that ultimately he determines will not be something that could be supported in this area, then it is certainly an area that he can develop commercially. And we'll be back before you if that ends up happening.
Thank you. If there is nothing further, I'm prepared to make a motion.
I see no one else wishing to discuss. Go ahead.
I'll move for approval of item number 25, subject to the conditions of staff.
I think there was a condition change as well, and I wanted to state for the record prior to the vote that I took the opportunity to take a meeting with Ms. Vittement along with my fellow commissioner, Ms. Quinn, and substantially everything that she indicated here on the record is what was represented in my office last week, and I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your time.
Thank you. So, motion's been made. Please cast your votes.
That was an historic event, wasn't it?
Post.
After
all of that?
After all that.
The motion carries. We can now move to item number 27. 26. Okay, I'm sorry. Motion on number 26 is in order?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move for approval of item number 26, again subject to these staff conditions.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. That motion carries.
Both items go forward to council on July 1st.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Good evening.
Now we move to item number 27, which is special use permit 33956. The applicant is Rafael Manzanares. The owner is Dario Pina for a proposed tavern limited establishment at 707 Fremont Street. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this site was previously approved for a tavern limited establishment. That expired on 3/8/09 after the use was discontinued for more than 6 months. The current request would utilize the same space and amenities as previously approved. Staff finds that this can be done in a compatible and harmonious manner with the surrounding area and recommends approval. Please note, we have received additional comments after posting.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and invite anybody who wants to speak on the matter to approach the microphone and give your name for the record and sign in.
Yeah, my name is, good evening. My name is Rafael Manzanares. My English too short, so this is why Angelica is coming to help me.
Just a translator.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So here I am.
Okay. Can you explain?
He just wants to thank the city for their approval, and he likes to hopefully thank the commission, the planning commission, for their approval.
Very good. Will you accept the conditions that are listed on the approval documents?
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question.
Please.
What kind of establishment is it? I'm assuming it's in the entertainment district, correct?
Yes, it is. It's a Spanish nightclub.
Oh, very good, very good.
Is it operating 24 hours?
No, it's going to operate from 8 o'clock at night to 5 in the morning.
7 nights a week?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions? Comments? I'll make a motion for approval of item 27 SUP 33956, subject to all staff's recommendation and conditions.
Very good. Motion's been made. Please cast your vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please post. Thank you.
And that
Motion
goes
carries.
forward to the city council on July 1st.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 28 is a special use permit 34110. The applicant is Edward Taguba. The owner is PK II Sahara Pavilion North LLC for a secondhand dealer use within an existing jewelry store at 4726 West Sahara Avenue. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the use is being proposed in conjunction with an existing jewelry store for secondhand dealer class 3 license. Staff is recommending approval as this can be done in a harmonious and compatible manner with the surrounding area. Please note we have received additional comments since publication.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Seeing none, will sir? Are you the applicant, sir? Yes. Oh, please approach the microphone and just give your name for the record, and if it be the truth, say that you would accept the conditions as presented. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Do I have to show up here? Or,
yes.
Mr. Chairman and members of this honorable commission, my name is Edward L. Taguba, 4726 West Sahara, Las Vegas.
Thank you very much. The staff has recommended approval, but they put 4 conditions on that approval. Would you accept those conditions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter?
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. This area is in transition. I was kind of wondering, is there going to be firearms on this? Because if there are, I want it restricted.
Mr. Chairman, a Class 3 license does not permit firearms. It only permits gold and jewelry.
Very good. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
I'd like to, if no one has anything to say, I'd like to make a motion for approval of SUP 34110 with all staff's recommendations, and I wish you luck. I visited your property, and it was very nice, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Post. Motion carries. We now can move to item number 30, which is a special use permit 34158. The applicant is Cricket Communications. The owner is Chica Development Corporation for proposed wireless communication facility, stealth design, within an existing 61-foot sign at 2233 South Las Vegas Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the subject site consists of a hotel and retail shops with an existing sign located along Las Vegas Boulevard that is in currently poor condition. The applicant is proposing to locate a wireless communications facility of stealth design within the existing sign. The antennas will be contained in the pole section of the existing sign with the associated equipment located on the roof of the building towards the rear of the property, where it will not be readily visible from the public right-of-way. The star embellishment at the top of the existing sign will be replaced with a new embellishment of the same design with neon lighting to meet the requirements of the Las Vegas Boulevard Scenic Byway Overlay District. Staff is recommending approval of this request as the proposed facility will have minimal impact on the adjacent properties and will be compatible with the surrounding land uses. Staff would like to amend condition number 1 as submitted to the clerk if approved to reflect the code section 19.04.010. Please note additional letters of protest have been received after the publishing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record and sign in for the...
Jason Freyer, 323 Greenleaf Glen, on behalf of the applicant. We agree with all staff's recommendations and would ask for your approval.
Thank you very much, and agree to the conditions. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Mr.
Yes,
Farlow?
thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. So they're going to recondition the pole in the as part of this this communication thing. Is that the deal?
Yes.
Because they said the pole was in bad condition, and I want to make sure that they're going to fix this thing up.
They're fixing it. Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please.
Just one quick comment. I just wanted to say of all the antennas that we've had come before us, this one looks very, very nice and appropriate, and I think this probably should be a benchmark for those to come in the future.
We try to be creative.
Can we get a
Very
Christmas
nice.
tree underneath that star?
We could do like a martini.
Please, no. Thank you very much. Okay. I think we're ready for a motion.
Yes, I'd like to follow the recommendation of the staff for approval of special use permit 34158, agenda item number 30. I believe that there is a modification referencing Title 19.010, change to the condition.
That is correct. It's 19.04.010.
Thank you very much.
Good.
So my motion would be for approval with the corrected, as read into the record by staff.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? And the motion carries.
Goes forward to council July 1st.
Thank you.
We now move to item number 31, which is a special use permit 34175. The applicant owner is Great Wash Park LLC for a liquor establishment tavern with a waiver to allow a 0-foot distance separation from a similar use and a 141-foot distance separation from a city park where 1,500 feet is the minimum distance allowed at 330 South Rampart Boulevard, Suite 215. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to the waivers, staff is supporting the waiver from the city park. It's located 141 feet measured diagonally, but the access from the park to this site requires a approximately 2-mile walking distance between the two due to the entrances of both. There's no direct access. In regards to the waiver of the similar use, staff finds that both uses can be conducted in a compatible and harmonious manner and is supporting that waiver, and therefore is recommending approval of this condition. Please note we do have a condition of change to condition number 1 to delete 19.04.005 and replace it with 19.04.010. Please note we have received additional comments after posting.
Thank you very much. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Good evening. Jay Brown, 520 South 4th Street, representing the applicant. With me is Laura Drea. We'd ask that you follow the recommendation of staff, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Accept all staff conditions
Yes.
as amended. The public hearing is open. Anyone else wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and state your case. Give your name for the record.
Come out wherever you are.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
If there's no discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please.
Motion for approval following the recommendation of the staff for agenda item number 31 SUP 34175.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries. We now move to item number
Council,
30.
July 1.
We now move to item number 32. The applicant owner is Great Wash Park, applicant's special use permit 34176. The applicant owner is Great Wash Park LLC for a liquor establishment tavern with a waiver to allow a 0-foot distance separation from a similar use and a 141 distance separation from a city park where 1,500 feet is the minimum distance allowed at 3330 Rampart Boulevard, Suite 195. Staff report,
Mr.
please.
Chairman, this is a request for the same, located within the same mixed-use establishment as the item number 31. Staff finds it can support the waiver of the park separation as the actual entrance to the park in this mixed-use project is over 2 miles away from each other, and also that the similar uses can be conducted in a compatible manner with the surrounding area and themselves, and staff is recommending approval. Please note, change to condition number 1 is the same, to change it from 19.04.050 to 19.04.010.
Again, for the record, Jay Brown, 520.
Please. Public hearing is open. Please state your name.
Again, Jay Brown, 520 South 4th Street, representing the applicant. And again, we'd ask that you follow the recommendations of staff, and we accept the conditions.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Hearing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, once again, if there's no discussion, I think the staff has made a compelling argument in their recommendation of approval. So my motion would be to follow their recommendation for approval of agenda item number 32, SUP 34176, with the clerical change as read into the record by staff.
Thank you. Motion has been made. Please cast your vote. Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Council,
Thank you.
July 1st.
Thank you.
We now move to item number 34, which is a text 33703. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's a discussion and possible action to amend Title 19.04, Table 2, and 19.20 to revise the regulations, applicable zoning districts, and descriptions for the small wind energy system use. Please note, Title 19.08 will also be revised relating to this use. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chair and members of the Commission, since we last reviewed this item last month, there have been a number of changes which I emailed to all of you on Friday of last week. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look at those changes. Let me just go over those very briefly. First of all, in terms of the configuration of the small wind energy systems, what we've changed since last month is basically made a separation for parcels less than 20,000 square feet. It's required that the small wind energy system be mounted on the roof. For parcels over 20,000 square feet, they may either be mounted on the roof of the building or else they may be a freestanding tower. Relative to setbacks under 20,000 square feet, since it's going to be roof mounted, it just follows the district setbacks. And then over 20,000 square feet, the setbacks would be the greater of the district setback requirements, or 1 times the tower height from any occupied structures on adjacent properties. In terms of the quantity of small wind structures permitted, 1 system would be permitted by right if they meet all of the conditional use standards. Any additional small wind energy systems would require them to file a special use permit application. There's another change that we have also made relative to the noise standards. We had originally listed that as 60 decibels. What we have done is just made a small change in the language that the system must be installed and maintained at 60 decibels. That was one of the things that had been requested that we add to that. That summarizes the changes that we have proposed to the ordinance, and I will go ahead and take your questions at this time.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Just a quick question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go right ahead. You were
Quick
first.
question. I'm assuming that I know what the answer would be, but Commissioner Truesdale, who is excused this evening, had concerns at our last meeting, and I believe I'm told that his concerns have been incorporated into the revised document.
Yes, his concerns have been. I sent the proposal to him. He responded by email that they more or less satisfied his concerns.
Very good. I thank you very much for all your hard work.
No further discussion. We're ready for a motion.
I'm prepared to make a motion because I know that we talked about this at length in the last meeting. So my motion would be to approve the text amendment 33703.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries.
And that'll go forward to council in ordinance form.
Very good. We now move to item number 35, which is the Director's Report 34177. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's a progress report by the Planning and Development Department regarding various projects discussed at the March 23rd, 2009 Joint City Council and Planning Commission Workshop. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, we had introduced the project of the form-based code to you at a workshop last year and felt that it would be appropriate for us to give a report on our progress on the form-based code. And I've asked Courtney Mooney, our Urban Design Coordinator and Historic Preservation Officer, to go ahead and make that presentation to you this evening. Ms. Mooney.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commission, Chairman. As Flynn said, I'm going to give you guys an update on the form-based code project. And just to refresh your memory a little bit, there's a PowerPoint that goes with this.
Wonderful.
You say the magic words, next slide, please.
Go. Next slide, please.
May we have the next slide, please? There we go.
And next slide, please. Okay. Okay, just to, I apologize. The font is actually a little bit larger on this screen. I don't know if you can see the entire screen from where on yours.
Just go.
Okay.
We can't fix it, so
okay. The form-based code is based on the smart code concept, which was developed in the 1980s, and the smart code concept is basically one document that it would include all of your zoning, subdivision regulations, urban design, and basic architectural standards. And these standards will focus on regulating urban form rather than distinct land uses. They emphasize the relationship of individual buildings to each other, as well as groups of buildings, and their relationship to the street and public open spaces. It also focuses on the design of circulation and public space networks, as well as neighborhood connectivity. For instance, connectivity of neighborhoods to transportation and services, schools, etc. It also facilitates pedestrian-friendly mixed-use developments and facilitates development based on street classification. An example of that would be that it would encourage a higher density development on a street with a more intense use. And the form-based code also includes sustainability measures, such as stormwater management and, encouraging pedestrian-friendly environments, so thereby discouraging the use of a vehicle. So the City of Las Vegas has been looking at the smart code document and looking at ways to incorporate that to meet the individual or the specific needs of the city. And how we're doing that is we are translating our existing zoning categories into a more graphic-based format, and we're also streamlining some of the zoning categories, and we're introducing the walkability and sustainability concepts into the community development and streetscape standards, and we're reformatting the entire document so that it can be easily accessed by the internet. So what we've done so far is we've looked at other cities that have implemented the form-based code. We've looked at some of the legal issues that have arisen from implementing a form-based code. We have looked at we've done a lot of research with books and journals and other publications so we can get a really good grasp of the concepts of the form-based code and how we can implement that in the city. We've also compiled all of the existing conditions, such as all of the current code documents, plan documents, et cetera, within the city and regionally. And a part of that was completing a Title 19 audit. We were looking for any impediments to the implementing the City of Las Vegas Sustainability Initiative, and luckily we didn't find any, so we can move forward positively with that. We completed a Title 19 usability survey, which was sent out to City of Las Vegas staff and public for response. We worked with the Regional Transportation Commission to look at places that we might be able to implement some transit-oriented development. We looked at some of their proposed major transit corridors to look at where we might be able to look at increasing some density. We also began the health impact assessment analysis with the Southern Nevada Health District. Southern Nevada Health District. Thank you. Next slide. Next slide. I apologize for that. Okay, so now I'll tell you a little bit about the Title 19 survey. The survey itself was distributed to over 1,000 individuals via invitation, and some of those were City of Las Vegas staff and also public. We were looking for feedback about the usability of the code. We were also looking for clarity to see if the information provided in the code was clear and understandable. We were looking for specific points of concern and possible opportunities for improvement on the code overall. So we got 346 responses back. 237 of those were city staff and 109 were public, which I thought was a pretty good turnout. Next slide, please. So this slide breaks down the staff responses by department, and overall the largest group of respondents was from Public Works, and that was followed by other, and then followed by Planning and Development.
Bart assures me he only filled out one survey, however.
Next slide, please. This slide shows the public respondent breakdown. It also speaks to the diverse group of respondents that we received, and this includes architects, developers, attorneys, land use attorneys, contractors, and planning consultants. And the largest group of respondents after other was the architects, and then followed by developers. Next slide, please. So we took all of this information, and the information suggests that we need to increase internal and external outreach efforts, and that basically means that we need to make the zoning code more accessible to the public and via the internet or other means. It also suggests that we need to create more consistency within the document and also between the document and other city documents, plans and codes, etc. We also need to have more well-defined terminology. It showed a preference for a use of the form-based type of formatting with more graphics and figures to illustrate the standards. It suggested that we should streamline the list of permissible uses, update the application and procedure section, expand the definitions, and reformat for internet accessibility. So, next slide, please. With all of this information, the planning department is looking closely at the SMART code model, which suggests a unified development code. And to us, that means that we will be merging the Title 18 subdivision standards and the Title 19 zoning code. This will reduce the conflict between codes, any conflict if there is any, provide staff and public with one single reference document. All of your zoning category descriptions and designs and development standards will be in one location. It will allow the sustainability standards to be placed throughout the document, and it will revise the streetscape standards for subdivision development. Next slide, please. So the slide that you have in front of you is an example of a layout for one of our residential zoning categories, the R1 single-family residential. And the basic idea is to have kind of a simple sort of 2 to 4 page layout that would be something like this printed on both sides that would have all of the necessary information that an applicant would need to develop his property. So with that, we have reformatted the the actual layout of the document to include a column type of format where you would have your graphics on the right with all of your standards, and your text is now in a table format, and it's easily referenced back and forth to the graphic. So this allows the text to be condensed, thereby allowing all of the information, again, to be in this very simple format that a person could just print. The other thing that we are implementing, we're taking advantage of the internet, and we're including hyperlinks throughout the document. For example, at the bottom, you can see some icons that we've placed there. And again, this is a draft, so those are subject to change. But the idea is that we will have a link. You can click on the icon. It'll take you directly to the definitions section, or another icon will take you straight to the City of Las Vegas website, or another one will take you to, will allow you to print the document. So we're making it very simple for the public and for staff to use. Next slide, please. This is an example of the C1 Limited Commercial District format. Again, you can see how there's just a slightly more text, but the format itself really lends to accommodating all types of zoning districts still within that easy format, with just a slight change of the graphics. Next slide, please. We've been fortunate to be able to partner with some great organizations while we're embarking on this project. The Green Council is a group that was formed by the City of Las Vegas, and they're comprised of developers and architects and other organizations, including the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association and NIOP. They have been reviewing our ideas for incorporating sustainability within the document and providing us with recommendations. As I mentioned earlier, we've been working with the Southern Nevada Health District and the Regional Transportation Commission, and a member of our staff is on a subcommittee of the Las Vegas Valley Stormwater Quality Management Committee, and this committee is reviewing EPA standards for incorporating stormwater management best practices into a regional impact to incorporate regionally, and they are going to help us with implementing some of the stormwater practices in the zoning code. And we are working with Public Works. They will be reviewing some of the streetscape proposals. And we are forming a committee of local professionals to review and provide input on the draft. Next slide, please. So the next step is the third quarter 2009. We will have completed the internal and external review of the draft code. And the fourth quarter of 2009, we will have completed the neighborhood meetings and all public meetings. And we will have provided another progress report to the Planning Commission. And the first quarter of 2010 will be the public hearing before the Planning Commission. Thank you. That's it.
That's it? Okay. Thank you. We now have the opportunity to have open the public participation and ask them to, anybody wishing to come and speak on this item are free to. Seeing no one approaching, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the Planning Commissioners for discussion and possible action.
A couple things real quickly, Mr. Chairman, that we will be asking for input from the Planning Commission as we go along. This is a major change. As you saw, the pages from the code will look entirely different and be utilized entirely differently than they are now. So we will be looking for your input on that as we proceed.
Mr. Chairman, the one comment that I'd make thus far, first of all, thank the staff for all their hard work. But I note that is the form-based code, is that something that's being universally adopted elsewhere? And how could we create a dialogue to ensure that Clark County, North Las Vegas, Henderson, where we all can speak the same language? I know that many of the representatives that appear before us, and Mr. Buckley, you probably know, having been around forever, don't they use different terminology often? And it can be very confusing. Pardon?
Mr. Chairman, to respond to the question, yes, form-based codes are being adopted nationally. It's not something that we are doing on our own, but rather this is something that's an outgrowth of the smart growth movement, as Ms. Mooney has mentioned. So again, it is kind of a national trend to move to a more graphically illustrated code that makes it easier for those who are not planners or engineers or architects to actually interpret and understand zoning regulations. So there is a great benefit to moving to a form-based code. In terms of here in the Valley, trying to standardize codes, City of Henderson is also working on a form-based code right now, and so between them and ourselves, two of the jurisdictions will have a form-based code. Of course, we always have that issue between the jurisdictions here in the Valley in terms of similarity of code requirements. And as much as we would like to do that, again, there are some differences between our communities and some of the goals and objectives of those communities, and consequently that does result in some differences in our zoning requirements. But wherever possible, we do like to have similar standards. For example, you recently looked at our mixed-use parking requirements, which are based on the model that Clark County has adopted. So wherever we can in terms of zoning standards, we do try to standardize those where our goals and objectives are the same.
Thank you. I know that sometimes, from my perspective, you get used to the acronyms in the alphabet soup. You know, you got a GPA, an SDR, an SUP, and some of those acronyms change from municipality to municipality. But when I talk to members of the public, some of them are pretty well educated, but others say you got to speak in English here, you know, because we're so used to those abbreviations and acronyms. And sometimes I forget that there's something behind that, and perhaps, you know, explaining that would go a long way. But my hope is that at some point they can be a little more universal. I thank you for all your work.
Thank you. So are we ready for a motion? Any further discussion?
No.
Nope. Okay, we accept it.
Thank you.
We say thank you, and that's it.
Thank you.
We can now move to item number 36, which is citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Anyone wishing to speak during the public participation portion, please come up to the microphone. Seeing none, we'll declare the public participation portion of the meeting closed and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.